Welcome to a special... Oh, dude, I almost said Foul Critics. That would have been the most royal of all fuck-ups. Let's try that one again.
Just change the way you said special, it'll be fine.
Oh, fucking hell. I'm very tired, lads. Let's try that again. Welcome to a special episode of Character Unlock, where we're going to kind of ditch the video games for a bit and instead talk about video game movies. We've been really lucky this week and we've managed to steal away from RGDS for, well, your third time with us, I think. We've brought Matt Lambourne on. Hello, Matt.
Hello, mate. Thanks for having me on board.
Thanks for coming on. It's always awesome to have you on. And for the first time in nearly 2 years, dude, that's not good. Like, that's not good at all. The first time in nearly 2 years, the man that, you know, let us have a thing on Foul Critics and now is over with our mate Tony on Set the Tape. It's Mr. Owen Hughes. Hello, Owen.
Hello, I am so out of my depth on this podcast.
I'm just gonna. This is just it's
my all the way through.
My sweet fucking revenge for all the times I was out of my depth on Foul Critics.
No, I mean, I the reason that I never came on Character Unlock before, and you did invite me to be fair, but I'm not a huge gamer, but I do watch a shit ton of movies, so hopefully there'll be some kind of equilibrium there, somewhere between the two, where I'll just comfortably sit and, you know, take a back seat when the gaming chat gets a bit too much for me.
Yeah, fair enough. And stuck with us, as always, is my good buddy John. You're right, mate.
But to be fair, Owen, let's be honest. You didn't believe in us for the start. That's why you've never been on.
I just thought it'll peter out after an episode or two. I'll let him have his thing, him and John. They can do their little thing and then it'll be finished. But no, you've made me eat my own words, because look at this podcast empire that is now established.
Empire is a strong word.
No, but I mean, you know, obviously I never thought that was a joke. But I've been super impressed with Character Unlock. I do listen to it, obviously. And it's just one of the things that when we started Fail Critics, or when I took over Fail Critics from our previous head honcho, James Diamond, I never expected it to go for as long or as far as it did. And like Character Unlock is one of the things I'm just most proud of from Fail Critics.
That's very kind of you, mate.
I think I'm going to cry.
I'm going to cry. Oh, shit, I've just put chewing gum in my mouth, and that made a hell of a crunch. I'm not doing that. Holy shit.
That's the time when I had cough sweets.
Everything I just said.
No. It is almost as bad as the time I could hear cough sweets rattling around in your gob the entire time we were talking.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So the reason we've kind of brought all of us together for this is a bit of a chat about video game movies with Tomb Raider, or the latest Tomb Raider film having just come out, and with a couple of us having been lucky enough to see Ready Player One in advanced screenings and with it due, we thought it would be a good excuse, I suppose, to just get everyone together and have a chat about films. I don't know, lads. Should we just get started? And just...
Why not?
Yeah. So we'll start... I'll tell you what, let's start with Tomb Raider. The now third Tomb Raider film. I don't know. Well, I mean, let's start. Have you guys seen the Angelina Jolie movies?
Saw the first one, and that was enough to not make me want to see the second one, if I'm honest.
That is not an uncommon thought, I don't suppose.
I don't remember hating the first one, but I watched it once and never, ever wanted to go back to it. I watched 10 minutes of the second one before calling it quits.
Fair enough.
Yeah. They're not great films, are they?
I don't remember seeing all of the first one.
But I bought Tomb Raider and Tomb Raider: The Cradle of Light.
Filth.
Life.
Cradle of Filth.
Cradle of Filth.
Now that would be a much better movie. So I rewatched Lara Croft Tomb Raider with Angelina Jolie a couple of weeks ago, and it is not the biggest bag of shit, but it is quite the bag of shit. It is not that good a film, and it's been re-released in 4K and in beautiful, lovely 4K. That shit robot that she beats the crap out of at the beginning does not look good, like even a little bit. It's possibly the worst thing I've ever seen.
It's the problem with all those sort of films from that era, isn't it? It's the dodgy, ropey CGI. It just immediately dates everything.
Yeah. And it is. It's like early 2000s. Anything that's got even the hint of CGI just looks terrible. And it doesn't age well. Like you watch an old, 70s and 80s movies with dodgy green screen and crap still motion stuff in it. It's just charming and fun. But yeah, these CGI robot was just so bad.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't yet rewatched Cradle of whatever it was.
Filth.
I know it.
Established.
The thing is, I know I've seen it, but I don't remember it at all. I literally don't remember a thing about it, apart from the fact Angelina Jolie's in it. And the only reason I know that is because she's on the cover. I can't be certain of that fact until I watch the film again.
Do you remember the crappy music video they did with Korn to promote
Oh, with her walking through broken
Tomb Raider
glass.
2?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's horrible.
Just had Jonathan Davis screaming in her face.
Yep, that was pretty bad.
Did my time. Not
Yep.
a bad song, but that video.
Great song,
sucked.
but the video was awful. And it was a much better song than the U2 one from the first Tomb Raider film.
What song was that? Was it Elevation?
Elevation.
Oh my god! Talk about totally unrelated.
Mate, when it came on, when I was watching it the other day, I was like, what the fuck is this doing on it?
Yeah, it's pretty random.
Yeah, it wasn't good. I did forget Daniel Craig was in it, though.
I didn't even realise.
He was
I
the
don't
other
think he
Tomb
was
Raider.
on my radar at the time.
I don't think he was mine either, but rewatching, I was like, that's Daniel Craig. I wonder if he remembers that he was in this, because no one else does. So fast forward X amount of years to Tomb Raider 2018. I can't... This film is made by a dude called Raw. This is amazing to me that there is a person called Raw. And it's spelled R-O-A-R, as in a bear roaring.
That's awesome.
I'm not even going to try and pronounce his surname, because I'm definitely going to fuck it up. But...
He's Norwegian, isn't he?
He must be with that name. Uthorg? Uthorg?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No idea.
No. So, yeah. Tomb Raider 2018, directed by Raw something or other, starring Oscar winner Alicia Vikander, Dominic West, and Walt Goggins, amongst a few others. I don't know, let's just jump in. Guys, what did we think?
Yeah.
Average.
I really liked it.
Go on then, John. What did you really like about it?
It was like a really good Indiana Jones movie. If they were to make a good one come back, I thought, and
That's a pretty low
watching
bar,
it-
considering all you got to
yeah.
do is not have aliens.
well, I suppose, but it worked for me as a Tomb Raider film. Unlike so many other video game films, this one actually looked a bit like it was trying to keep to the source material.
I'd definitely give you that. As it was going on, I kind of went, yeah, this is the game. This is from the game. I'm sitting there going, this is from the game. This is awesome. It's from the game.
As someone
right
who
down to
has
the weird little puzzles.
Well, that was it. Like, it felt like a Tomb Raider puzzle. The puzzles they were doing in this film, they're shit, but they felt like Tomb Raider puzzles. Whereas you look at the ones in the Angelina Jolie film, I was like, oh, this is crap. I don't care. This is rubbish. Sorry, Owen, you were going to say something, mate.
I was just going to say, like, I haven't got experience of the games, so I went into these blind. The last Tomb Raider I played was Tomb Raider 2. So, you know, to me, it was about rediscovering the character. And I just felt it was a bit too, like the way that games work is, you know, I obviously don't have to explain it to you guys, but in terms of the narratives of games, they constantly reward you for doing little things. That's the point of them. You keep playing because you're constantly rewarded.
Yeah.
And the film felt like it was trying to do the same thing, but you don't have that same experience when you're just watching something. You don't have that sense of, you know, a feeling of pride in doing something because you aren't doing anything. You're just sitting in the seat. And I think the film was structured very much in that similar pattern, which, you know, it'd have one scene where, I mean, I guess the go-to example for what I'm talking about is the scene on the plane when she's on the waterfall. And it's like, it doesn't, you're not rewarded from watching that. It's just long and overlong, perhaps even, and just, I don't think it really worked as a movie in that sense. The story was fine. I didn't have like any issues with the plot. I just thought the way it was paced and structured was just a bit too, well, I'm gonna say unconventional, but you know what I mean. I don't mean it just didn't really work too well for me. It just made it kind of boring. In fact,
I think I'm with you on the pace and the structure issues. I think it spent far too long getting to the island. It took way too long. Mm-hmm. It took far too long to set up who she is and why she's broke and why she's off to the island. It feels like a film of just 2 acts. Act 1 is 50 minutes and it's her getting to the island. Act 2 is an hour and 10 minutes and it's her on the island, and that's it. There is no Act 3.
The stuff that could, like you mentioned in there, the stuff that could have made this a good film is all of that interaction between her and the Chinese fella whose name I've suddenly forgotten, but I did have it written down earlier. Daniel Wu.
Yeah.
You know, him and Alicia Vikander together. There was something they could have built on this, particularly when they were on the boat together, heading to the island. Yeah. But here's your opportunity now to establish character, to get some chemistry going, and instead they just went, and here's a montage narrated of a diary reading. Oh god! So they just skip all the boring story stuff to go and do more action, and that's what I mean. It just didn't feel particularly well paced.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, and this is the age old, you know, making a film from a video game thing. You can't please everyone. I don't think it's going to be impossible, but it tries very, very hard to be the game, like in as much as all of the audio, you know, narrative voiceover bits, they're all coming from these tiny little dictaphones that no one has used in a fucking age. No one has used one of these since the turn of the millennium, and yet they're still in this film because they're still in the game.
Should I tell you one of the things that occurred to me as I was watching it? I started to, like, my mind drifted because I wasn't really that into the movie. I mean,
it's not that boring a film.
It kind of was a bit. I started to think, like, it reminded me of how, like, the character of Batman is used in movies, right? Because is Batman a scientist? Is Batman a detective? Or is Batman an action hero? And I think it's the same here with Lara Croft. Is she an archaeologist? Is she, you know, solving puzzles and mysteries? Are we going to have a kind of almost like a detective story in that she's unraveling this history of what happened to her father and going to this mysterious island? Or is she an action hero who's going to run around, do her kickboxing stuff on some random goons and just, you know, blow up a couple of mountains to find a hidden ghost thing? It's kind of like, what's it trying to be? I think it was trying to do too much. If it just focused on one thing, it would have been fine.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, Owen. I mean, one of the things that I most had trouble with when watching it is I get that this is a different Laura than the original Tomb Raider games and the original Tomb Raider movies, whereas in the original, she's this affluent, thrill seeker, badass action heroine. And in this, she's adept but vulnerable in almost every situation. She's constantly overpowered by males in the movie. She's not a gun-toting action hero by any stretch of the imagination just yet. And without spoiling anything, the film starts off with her getting her ass handed to her in a mixed martial arts fight. So she's not the finished article. So what this is alluding to is, look, she's got potential, but she's not there yet. And it's kind of like, well, what does she bring to the table if she isn't the badass action woman that she's portrayed in the original Tomb Raider? She's just a very determined, quite athletic girl. What else is she actually bringing to the table? And I think they did try to oversell her vulnerability a lot in the film. There was quite a few times whereby she's letting out some very feminine whimpers, which I didn't think was at all necessary, just to remind you that she's soft. Determined.
There were a couple of times where those teen slasher movie screams that were coming out of her were a bit, please stop.
Are they like a nod to the game though? Because I was watching that thinking these like noises that she's making, they must specifically be related to what happens in the games, right?
When the Tomb Raider reboot was first announced, it got a lot of shit because the only video that was shown of it was basically heavy breathing Lara climbing through a cave, and literally it just sounded like sex noises coming out of it. I'm watching this thinking, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. It was at E3. I'm watching it at 1 o'clock in the morning. Going, please God, don't let my wife wake up and hear this because she's going to think I'm watching porn. It was so bad. I think part of it is a bit of a dig at that. I don't think it's meant to be I don't think it's meant to be a good thing in the slightest. But some of the noises that come out of her are a bit dodgy.
Yeah,
I will give you that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying for a second that this film ain't without its problems. Not at all. And, we're only in March, and the films I've seen so far this year, most of them blow it out of the water. But I sat there for my 2 hours, and I fucking loved every minute of it.
Even like the horrendously overcooked London bit at the beginning with her riding around on a bike.
Oh, that was shit. But this is my point. The whole characterizing Lara before she goes to the island took far too long. Far too long.
It's far too long, and it's just totally unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I don't want my father's fortune. I don't need it. I'm going to deliver fast food forever. And they didn't really go anywhere with the bit where they were hinting about the fast food owner's son was obviously trying to ask her out on a date. And
what was the point of that?
Chicken out of it, and then we don't see him ever again. It's like, well, why did you put that in? It's totally pointless.
I don't see the point in that either.
Yeah.
Not at all.
And there's quite a few relationships that are probably pointless, and there's only one that counts, and that's the relationship between Laura and Richard Croft. But they didn't really go very far with the connection between Laura and the guy she meets in Hong Kong who takes her on the boat to the island, because he's very connected to her by the end. He sticks around through thick and thin when he could have easily gotten away, and it's just like, you've got no obligation to do whatsoever.
Yeah, why?
Why are you there? Just leave.
I very much get the feeling that the plan is to obviously franchise this into more than one film, and he will be the sidekick.
Yeah,
because she does have a sidekick in the rebooted games. He's not from Hong Kong. Pretty sure he's Samoan.
Call me call me cynical if you like, but I think it's a kind of cash grab to get the Asian market to go and see it. And
I would agree with you, apart from the bit in the games, the boat does come from there. It is a Chinese boat, the Endurance, if I remember right.
Yeah. I'll take my cynical cap off.
This is going to come up a lot later on as well, I think. I was very, very forgiving of this film. The hints to the games, and there were several bits of it where I found myself reaching for a controller that wasn't there just so I could mash X and try and rescue somebody.
Can we talk very quickly about these crack commandos that are running the island, stormtrooper itis, and can't shoot anything with their
they're fucking retards, every single
rifles.
one of them.
Yet you've got your main bad guy who's a crack shot with a pistol and hits every time.
Yeah.
It's just like, what on earth? Are we really trying to say that this island is like completely guarded and ran by people with automatic weapons who can't hit anything? I mean, come on.
Yeah, but we've seen this in a million movies before, though, haven't we? This ain't something that's exclusive to video game films. This is something that's exclusive to every single person that's ever played bad guy number 4. You know,
there seemed to be a bit of a reluctance to mess up Laura in this, apart from the bit where she injures herself kind of halfway through, which is, you know, a pretty good scene.
Yeah,
she's shot at repeatedly, never gets hit. She's clambering over all sorts of stuff, doesn't get cut. Like the bit where Erin's on about where she's stuck on a plane wreck for what seems like 10 minutes and she should have easily snagged herself multiple times and doesn't. And I'm just like, how are you still completely flawless after all this, apart from a bit of mud? It's absolutely absurd.
I loved it.
She does have a lot of tourniquets on her towards the end, like in really random places. You don't see her, applying them at any point, but she's got loads of weird little cuts on her arm, which is very similar to the games, where she just has a bandage around one of her arms for some reason.
Because badass.
Yeah.
Implied damage that never actually occurred. That's another video game trick. That's good. And then there's a bit that I'm pretty sure I've seen people talking about online. I hope I'm referring to the same thing here, whereby they're complaining about not being able to see certain things that are happening. And I'm specifically thinking to the bit where the boat crashes on the island and there's a whole lot of crap going on in the water, and I couldn't tell what on earth was happening.
No.
I don't have the best eyesight as it is these days anyway.
Are we talking about when she's actually landed on the beach? Because
the crash that leads to her landing on the beach, there seems to be a whole lot of turmoil going on because of the weather conditions or whatever, but you just can't see what's going on. It's just absolute chaos. And I guess you could say, well, that's kind of adding to the peril. Okay, I kind of get that, but it reminds me of a bit in the first Hobbit movie whereby they have that bit where they're going downstream in barrels and it's just so chaotic you can't actually tell what's happening. It reminds me a lot of that. I was just so like, okay, I get she's in danger, but I just can't see what's going on.
Do you know what? I think they were disguising a lot of shoddiness doing stuff like that. Like the way it was shot was just to hide how ropey something might have looked. Because in the very first sort of scenes of this film, when you're first meeting Lara, when she's having that, is it kickboxing she's doing? I can't remember what she was doing. She was fighting someone in the ring, right? I started to count after about 20 seconds how many cuts there were. There were about 40 cuts in 60 seconds in that fight. And it's just like a shot of Lara's from one angle. Next angle, she's throwing someone over her shoulder. The next angle, well, whoever the fight was going, there were about 40 cuts. I had to double check after I came out the cinema to make sure it wasn't directed by Olivia Megatron, because I just thought, this is like Taken 3 all over again. It's horrible to watch. I really just don't know how people can just sit through something like that and not just squirm or look away and think, this is fucking terrible. This is awful directing. It's bad editing, and the way that it's edited is to hide the fact that, Alicia Vikander, for all of her abs and muscle, probably wasn't that good at fighting. And they had to make it look as though she was with some quick sort of camera tricks. And it doesn't work. All it makes it look like is someone's just, dropped the camera in the toilet. And it's just going crazy.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. I guess we should probably talk about some of the good bits because we're just absolutely destroying it, unfortunately. And I think the one scene that stands out for me, and again, I'm trying not to be too spoilerific, but this has been talked about openly in coverage of the film so far, is the scene where she gets her first kill, and it's far from glorious. And it reminds me a lot of Bond's first kill in Casino Royale. It's a very harrowing, painful scene. And that's quite real. I definitely lean towards that. I thought, yeah, I get that. That's really well executed.
I loved that first kill. Absolutely. Have you guys all played the Tomb Raider reboot?
No.
Right. Have you played it, John?
I most of it. I haven't finished it.
Right. So the first kill in Tomb Raider, and this got brought up a lot when Tomb Raider came out. The first kill in the Tomb Raider reboot was a little bit of tension. It was Lara getting hold of a gun and then shooting people. But the problem after that was it was a really well done scene, and it was, oh shit, you feel sorry for her because she's done her first kill, and then she fucks off and kills 450 people. It's out the window straight away. You don't care anymore. Now, what I really enjoyed about this one was that first kill. The first time she kills somebody, she's struggling. She doesn't like it, and it's not fun. It's not fun to watch. Sure, it wasn't fun to be a part of. I really liked it. I thought that it was probably the best bit of character building in that film, was making her do that and changing it so it done that. In fact, she didn't kill 190 people in the next 35 seconds.
The shame about that thing was, though, that they executed that bit really well, and then they car crash it into Castaway. She realizes her dad's been watching her, and he is Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that was my favourite bit of the film with Dominic West, where she finds him and he's just like this hairy man who climbs up the rope and goes into his little cave. He goes all Gollum, and he's just sat there, ignore it, it'll go away. I just thought every time he was doing that was my favourite bit because it was so crap, and I quite liked the bits that were crap.
But Dominic West is not. We were talking about this before we started recording. Dominic West is not a good actor, like at all. The dude has lived off of being that guy from The Wire that isn't Idris Elba for a long time.
Yeah, and like we were saying, I will forgive him till the end of time because he was that guy from The Wire who wasn't Idris Elba.
Yeah.
I can quite happily let him get away with 50 other Tomb Raiders because he was Jimmy McNulty.
Yeah.
And that's fine with me.
But I have an issue with Tomb Raider as a whole having daddy issues as a story technique, because they were never there before the original films. They're not a thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're not a thing. They're not a part of Lara Croft. Lara Croft's just Indiana Jones with shorter shorts and bigger tits. That's all she is. She doesn't have daddy issues. She doesn't. Yeah, and they were kind of brought in because, I don't know, Angelina Jolie felt guilty about a dad, so they got him in to play the dad that she has daddy issues. I don't know, but that's what put daddy issues into the Tomb Raider lore. Had nothing to do with the games before the Angelina Jolie movie. I don't like.
How many had come out before that one though? Was that just like Tomb Raider 1 to 3?
There was quite a few.
There was quite a few
In
before.
2001.
Yeah.
Was it? Okay. Because like from what I remember of Tomb Raider, this goes for all like computer, as we'll probably talk about in the triple bill, like for all computer games that are adapted to movies, the best ones are the ones that just take an element of story from the game and create a whole new mythology.
Yep.
I think the ones that do that are the ones that work. The ones that try to copy things like directly are the ones that fail.
Yeah.
And you can say the same for adaptations of novels as well, or comic books and stuff, because each thing is written for its own medium. So I think I'm okay with them taking a bit of creative license to add in a backstory that necessarily didn't come from the computer games.
I'm not saying for a second that they don't. It doesn't work, but what I'm saying is I don't like it. I don't like that it got then transplanted from the films to the rebooted game, and now from the rebooted game to the rebooted film. It's not necessary. I don't think.
Okay.
The thing with the Tomb Raider reboot is she does have daddy issues, but she's on an adventure and has found her way to the Devil's Triangle, and shit gets real when ghosts control the weather and fuck up her ship. And they've kind of got that with the film, but there's too much. I miss my dad. There's too much of that. I don't want it. And I don't care how negative I sound. I'm going to keep saying it. I fucking love the Tomb Raider movie. I've seen it twice now in a very short space of time, and I fucking loved it both times.
I think it's fair to say between us, and correct me if I'm wrong, that collectively we all think it's okay, and Brooker thinks it's exceptional, and maybe John as well. But it's,
No.
it's definitely not. It's not bad.
I
but
didn't
it's
say it
not
was exceptional, and this
fantastic.
is the thing. Critically, and if I take the fact that I just enjoyed sitting there for 2 hours watching shit go down, it's a fucking mess. I love Alicia Vikander, and I'll watch her in absolutely anything. If she wants to do a 2-hour movie where she sits there opening her bills, I will sit and watch it and want her to win an Oscar for it. But the film, it ain't that great.
Did you watch The Danish Girl?
I did, and I watched it because she was in it.
Yeah.
You know I watched it. I reviewed the fucking thing, and I was not kind about it either.
No.
I fucking hated The Danish Girl, but I went to watch it because she was in it. But yeah, the film's a mess. There's no denying it. But this is the thing. I sat through it and enjoyed it. I enjoyed my 2 hours with it. I can't wait to watch it again. I'm really sad that there's not a steelbook for me to pre-order for it. If you're listening, Zavi or HMV or someone, please just give me a Tomb Raider steelbook.
You can get the other ones on Steelbook.
No. Have you seen the state of the artwork? They're fucking horrid. I think we've done Tomb Raider to death, haven't we? Unless anyone else has got something they want to say.
Well, I mean, I was just going to throw in that just to tack on to your comment there about Alicia Vikander, that she did make what should be unlikable character kind of likable in this. So she must have been doing something right.
I actually found her quite unlikable.
Yeah.
Really?
I found her very annoying.
Fair enough.
That's just my personal.
No, that's fine.
The character doesn't do anything for me. I'm hoping now she's over the daddy issues that the second one, her character might come to the fore a bit more and be less annoying than it is in this one, but we shall see.
The next one is definitely going to be about mommy issues.
Oh.
And then maybe auntie issues and uncle issues, granddad issues, butler issues, all sorts of issues.
Only if the next one is her having mummy issues and it turns out to be a crossover with a Tom Cruise movie.
It turns out her mum was just locked in the giant fridge all along.
Yep. I will give Alicia Vikander that. It's her first ever action film. I think she's done all right for her first ever action movie. I was quite impressed.
Like I say, I think a lot of it was hidden quite well. And so it came across to me.
I loved it. Time to move on. Shall we move on?
Right. Do let's.
So the other film we want to talk about is Ready Player One, which I think Owen and myself have seen. It's not due out here for a couple of weeks, I don't think.
28th, I think it is. Wednesday, 28th, I think it comes out.
Of March?
Yes.
So next week?
Yeah.
That's not bad. A week and a bit ahead. Okay, fair enough. So yeah, so in a week or a couple of days after this podcast goes up, Ready Player One will be out. The story of its Second Life, the movie. It's
Sword Art Online meets Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah. So it's a story about a giant virtual reality type game where everybody goes and spends all of their time and all of their money, and when its creator dies, he leaves an Easter egg for someone to find. Basically a giant Indiana Jones puzzle inside a game for someone to find and take control of the company. And hilarity ensues, kind of. I'm trying really hard to get enthused about this game, but this film. But lads, I was not impressed. Like, not at all.
I bumped into our mate Ian.
Yeah.
Mighty Blackout, who's, if people follow him on Twitter, and because we both live near Didcot, we both went to the same screening of this and both came out, and I said to him, what did you think? And he said, it's all right if you like stuff. And I think that's the best summary that I've heard of it so far.
Yeah.
It's all right if you like stuff. If you like lists of stuff, then
it's very, very
all right.
pretty, and it's got something in it for everybody. everybody will come out of that screening and go, I like that. That bit was cool. But that will be it. I do not understand the amount of praise this fucking film is getting.
I think it's based on a very popular book, isn't it? And the book is just a phenomenon in its own right.
Have you read it?
No, I haven't read it, no. I don't think it would be my kind of book. Because, again, like the film, from what I gather, it's lists of stuff. This time, the book is lists of stuff from the 80s. And the film is lists of stuff from the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
So the people who are really into the book are going to be pissed off because it'll include references they don't get. And people who read the book who thought the film was good will probably be pissed off because it'll have references they might not get.
Yeah.
Because it's based on, do you remember this? You know, do you remember that character, Brooker? Do you remember this cartoon? Do you remember that film? Good, wasn't it?
It's basically
that's like the film.
a Where's Wally book in film format for just spotting things.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, some of them are really crafted like exceptionally well. They're brought into the whole narrative really strongly. I mean, there's a reference to a Kubrick film in there, which I thought was done brilliantly. That was my highlight of the film.
Mine as well.
I'm desperately trying not to reveal anything because I'm aware that spoilers for something like this would be just a major dick move.
Yeah, that would be horrible.
That's why I'm here.
But there are things in it that are done really well. It's very Spielberg in that it's like just massively showy and it is a spectacle. And there's references to all kinds of movie makers. John Hughes comes up quite a lot, and so do his sort of films. Robert Zemeckis as well. It even has things like there's you see a holy hand grenade somewhere near the start of the film. You think, yeah, you know. It's referencing movies, it's referencing culture, it's referencing mostly computer games.
A lot of computer games.
Huge amount of computer games. But to be fair, they don't knock you on the head with it in the same... Like I mentioned Wreck-It Ralph earlier. I didn't like Wreck-It Ralph because I thought that was trying to force all the stuff down your throat in a very... just creating these like Zangief and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Wreck-It Ralph was kind of, we've paid a lot of money to use this.
Yeah.
See this. See more of it.
At least Ready Player One was just like, oh, in the background over there is Ryu and Blanca. And it's like, oh, cool. But like that's kind of how the whole thing was. The story was much of a muchness for me. I'll tell you what it was like. It's like if Charlie Brooker said to Spielberg, just go gung-ho on an episode of Black Mirror for us. Do what you like. I'll step aside. You can get Alan Silvestri to come and score it and just knock yourself out, Spielberg. And he did. And that's what his version of Black Mirror is like.
Yeah.
You know what? Having not seen this and just hearing you guys talk about it, it sounds exactly like the entire retro gaming community on Twitter, whereby they just post pictures of stuff and go, do you remember Street Fighter 2? Please retweet.
Yeah.
And loads of people do because, oh, I played that. Wow.
Yeah.
And it just sounds like, yeah, of course, remember, it's the best-selling game ever, you idiot. And it's just like, you're just forcing these things that will trigger us with positive emotion just over and over again, but without any substance to it whatsoever. And it also sounds like the type of film I wouldn't go to see, even though I am a gamer, because it sounds quite indicative of a lot of books that have been turned into movies, particularly when they're trying to focus on something that's retro-futuristic. I'm thinking stuff that's come out in the last few years, like Ender's Game and Valerian, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Whereby the vision of what they thought the future was in the 70s and 80s is much more exciting than it's actually turned out to be.
Yeah.
So when you try and bring it up to date with modern resources and movie making techniques, it's just not as exciting as it was when you just had to rely purely on your imagination. So I don't think this would appeal to me, but I guess if you loved the book as a kid, it's a must-see, and it's going to make you happy to a degree because, like you say, it's got enough references to make it poignant. But if you haven't read it, I don't see why it would appeal to anybody, quite frankly.
I mean, absolutely, I think every film lover, not necessarily game lover, but every film lover that's kind of our age will adore some bits of it. But the bit that Owen mentioned before, apart from the bit I can't believe they managed to crowbar that into a fucking 12A rated movie. Holy shit. I walked out and I had to double check the certificate. I couldn't fucking believe that was a 12A rated movie after seeing that. But that aside, like, for me, that was it. And one other bit that I think is kind of in the trailer, but I'm not going to spoil it just in case it's not, because I can't remember.
Speaking of the trailer, I tell you what, that almost put me off the movie completely. It's got some twee shit orchestral version of, like, I think it's Pure Imagination from the Willy Wonka. I fucking hate stuff like that. All this orchestral sort of, you know, gospel sounding singer just remaking shit old.
But it also had World in My Eyes by Depeche Mode, so I got a bit of a boner at that point.
Oh, you will adore the soundtrack. I will never ever fucking tire of listening to Blue Monday. Not ever. I fucking loved that song, and it was great in this film. Film wasn't great, but Maya said the same thing about the trailer. She watched the first trailer and went, "Oh, that looks interesting," and then after the second trailer, she went, "No, I'm not watching that." She got like quite passionate about it. This trailer has ruined this film.
Trailers, they're fucking pain. I mean, the whole thing with the Iron Giant as well, right? Which is a big part of the film.
Yeah.
In a very sort of minor way. All of that is in the trailer. The whole bit of the Iron Giant stuff is in the trailer.
Yep.
Why would you put all of that in there? Just a glimpse of Iron Giant would be enough to make people go, "Ooh, look, it's that character." And you know, it's just like you don't need to show it all.
No.
But that could be an argument of the whole film is, you know, show don't tell, and they just.
Yeah. I think this is an issue. We've talked at length before about trailers ruining films, haven't we?
Yeah. It is a bugbear. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's completely off topic, but have you been seeing the trailers for A Quiet Place?
No.
I'm starting to get really fucking annoyed with those because every trailer shows something else, and some of you look at it and go, "That shouldn't have been there. That should have been a holy fuck, please God, no moment in the film." And now I know it's coming because it's in the poxy trailer.
It's the same for the new Pacific Rim film.
Yeah.
I think I've seen it. I watched the trailer once. I think I've seen the film now. I don't know what else I could get out of it.
I may or may
I'm
not
really
already
worried
have my
about that
tickets for that.
I loved Pacific Rim, but this sequel does not look good at all.
I think no Del Toro, no Elba, no Hunnam, no nobody. I don't think it's going to work at all. I will be going to see it because I really want it to be good, but I'm pretty sure it's going to suck.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I did think was quite good about Ready Player One. I mean, the acting in it was ropey from everybody.
Oh, yes.
I mean, really quite astonishingly bad. But Ben Mendelsohn, I could watch him in anything. You were talking about Alicia Vikander. I think I could watch Ben Mendelsohn do anything in any film.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to watch him, and I thought he was a good villain.
Or was it who done the voice of the bad guy? T.J. Miller.
Oh yeah, T.J. Miller.
He was amazing. Every line that came out of his mouth was gold. I thought he was fucking great, but it didn't make up for the rest of the film.
No, and to be fair, Mark Rylance was quite good. I mean, he's playing something slightly different for him.
Yeah.
As a computer programming nerd. But I thought he was okay. But again, it's a bit of a side character almost.
Yeah.
He's not in it all that much.
And it's a 2 hour and 20 minute movie.
Ugh.
My God, did I feel every minute of it. So for me, the best bits about this film, some of the action, I mean, even if you don't enjoy the film and even if you don't enjoy the things that are on it, some of the set pieces in this film look amazing. And they will take you away from the fact that you've been bored for the half hour previous to it. But, yeah, and a couple of the references in it I think are great. But every time a grown-up says something gamery, I want to pull my skin off. It is so awkward and so embarrassing. And I just wanted to get up at every point and say, we don't fucking talk like that. You know, I am a grown-up. I play video games. I do not say things like clanning up. Fuck you.
I bet you do, bro.
I really do not.
I was taking notes of the language so I can be down with the kids.
Oh, it made me cringe. It was just horrible. And these people are older than me, and they're saying this shit, and I'm going, "Oh, please just stop, please stop." It's so painful. But
I'll tell you one thing, guys. It's quite apparent that popular culture, particularly films and video games, they're really going for the exploitation of nostalgia, and coming up short time and time again. And it's all well and good that if you have a particular franchise and it strikes gold one time, you're going to rinse and repeat it over and over again. But when they just pull things out of relative obscurity, I mean, this hasn't been relevant for decades, Ready Player One, and then just try and dump it on a new audience and expect it to do incredibly well, it's only going to appeal to the people who liked it the first time round. I'm sure there's not enough in it for the sort of up to age 15-year-olds who've grown up on Minecraft and stuff like that. How much of it's going to be relevant to them?
Well, I'm not entirely sure that it's not relevant, really, because I think there's some commentary on kind of VR, virtual reality worlds, and being, suckered into fantasy worlds when you're missing out on real life stuff. And and it even kind of posits the question of, well, maybe that is real life now. Maybe doing stuff inside of a virtual reality world is kind of real life. You can kind of form real life friendships. But it also constantly asks the question of, like, well, is that healthy? Is that good? So I think it has a relevance, and it's just about whether it does it well or not. It's a very light sci-fi in the sense that it's not delving too deeply into some of these topics.
No,
but it's there. I think it is kind of contemporaneous in that it's of its time.
Yeah, it does focus on things like, well, it doesn't focus. It does bring up things like spending all your money inside the game you play.
Yeah.
Which is something that has come up a lot in the last couple of years.
Yeah, microtransactions.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But because it's a 12A rated Steven Spielberg friendly sci-fi, it doesn't spend that much time on it.
No.
And it doesn't wholly give you the spending all this money in non-real world things is bad kind of narrative. I want everybody to go and see it, because I've seen so many people go, it was the greatest thing I've ever seen, and it was everything I wanted it to be. And I walked out going, I was expecting to at least enjoy it. No.
I'm fine. I mean, people. It's clearly got an audience, and I think people who are saying that it's great, that's good. I mean, there's still things to admire from the perspective of it being a Spielberg film, because it's Spielberg doing what Spielberg can do quite well. It's his first sci-fi, I think, since War of the Worlds, and that was 13 years ago.
Yeah, 2005.
So, yeah. So I mean, it's like great to see him giving this kind of thing a go again, and it's very much his type of film, from the way that the film ends, from the characters involved in it, which again I think are kind of references to other characters from similar kind of movies. But it's I don't know. It didn't do a huge amount for me. I liked bits of it, but like you, yeah. I mean, I've seen it now. I don't need to go back again.
But what it kind of means, a bit like Tomb Raider. Everybody can go watch it. You can like it, not like it. That's fine. If you love it, great. Ready Player One. If you love it, fine. I didn't. My problem with Ready Player One was I was kind of walking in expecting it to be that one film of the year that everybody loves. And the only people that don't are the people that just want to fight with you on Twitter.
Well, so I get that, but I also, do you know what annoys me as well is when it's a similar thing happened to with Blade Runner last year, and because this month we've had Ready Player One come out in cinemas, which is a big sort of sci-fi, and yet on Netflix we've also had Annihilation, which is a very high concept science fiction.
I've not watched it yet. I've not had time.
Okay, I'm not going to go into detail, but basically, Annihilation, Alex Garland, super high concept. Right? Stuff happens in it. It has a story, but what you're watching is every single thing in it is about something else.
Yeah.
And so it's difficult in a good way, whereas Ready Player One is popcorn in potentially a good way as well. But the point I was going to make was, like, with Blade Runner last year, you had people going, well, if you don't watch Blade Runner, then you're killing sci-fi with more garbage Transformers movies and stuff. And I think a similar argument is probably about to erupt with Ready Player One, in that, well, you don't watch Annihilation on Netflix, you're not into all the like high concept intellectual science fiction, then you'll just end up with stuff like this and Pacific Rim sequels. And that's the kind of argument that annoys me. I think anyone who says something like that is a fucking knobhead.
Pretty much.
There is room in the world for all kinds of movies. People can enjoy Ready Player One. There's nothing wrong with going to a movie like this and walking out and going, that was fun, I liked the characters, it was a breeze, it's fine. Right? There's nothing at all wrong with that. So the kind of
how many times have I come to you and said, I really fucking like this stupid shit £9.99 horror movie, and you went, no. Just fucking no, Brooker. Just no.
I don't know. I like films that are a bit crap as well. I like films that are a bit like dodgy looking and.
A couple of years ago, we had Jurassic World, which, you know, technically speaking, was quite poor, but it was just really entertaining in a dumb, popcorny kind of way. And, you know, if this is the sci-fi equivalent of that, then that's absolutely fine.
It's a great comparison, actually, because they are very, I would say they're about on the same pegging in that way.
But yeah, it's very pretty, and it's got a beautiful aesthetic. A buddy, I'm trying to find this tweet without making it really obvious that I'm on Twitter, because I was talking to a mate of mine about it, and he was like, I've seen a lot of it. He put, I'm sensing that aesthetics have masked a poor story, which pretty much covers it for me.
Yeah,
looks very pretty. Looks very pretty, but it ain't all that outside of some admittedly interesting 3D.
All fur coat and no knickers, as my wife would say.
Pretty much. But yeah, I was disappointed. I was gutted. I really, really wanted it to be good. I'm really gutted that I didn't enjoy it. But, you know, I did get to see some things that I did. Was this the same with you, Owen? I was in a theatre filled with people creasing with laughter.
Not so much.
There was so many people howling with laughter at this film. I think I spent more time looking at them going, what are you laughing at? That wasn't funny.
I didn't have anyone walk out. I didn't have anyone, like, kicking the back of my chair through not being able to breathe because they were laughing so hard. I didn't have anything like that. No extremes one way or the other. I think everyone just mostly walked out and went, yeah, it was right. It was okay. And then that was, like, the extent of it. Everyone got in their cars and went home, and
I think it suffers from the same sort of thing that, like, a Star Wars film gets, whereby people are so determined to like it because of what it is that they'll say it's good when it clearly isn't good.
Yeah.
Well, you know where I stand on those films, Matt.
Owen does that with Star Wars all the time.
You know, if this was akin to, you know, Steve from Fell Critic and Set the Tapes love for Star Wars, if you love the book so much, it can almost do no wrong. You're going to find a way to like it, and enough people be in the screen with you to create the echo chamber that, oh, everyone else is laughing, it must be good.
Yeah.
When it actually isn't good. You know, if you look at it objectively, it's pretty crap. And that's what Star Wars has been like since it's come back, as far as I'm concerned, because I've got no horse in that race. I like them a bit, but I'm not a mega fan or anything. And maybe this is the same thing. Enough people have gone to see it who have a very strong opinion of the book and what the franchise represents, and they found excuses to like it to keep them happy.
Maybe. I don't like to kind of prejudge what someone might think in that sense. I think it's like I say, I think people will like it for genuine reasons, and some people maybe will be persuaded because other people like it. I think possibly the same thing happens with a lot of Marvel movies that you're talking about. I know like friends who really disliked Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think that's also spins out of people going, well, they really liked it, and I don't like that kind of person, therefore it's shit. So you know you get all kinds of different influences. One thing that did kind of occur to me whilst I was preparing notes for Ready Player One. Like, this is all based on nostalgia from the 80s and 90s, right? If this film was being made in 30 years' time and it was based on nostalgic stuff from now, what would it be? I mean, you guys are probably better placed than me because you play more sort of computer games and stuff. What would the cultural references be? Call of Duty? I mean,
Call of
what are the
Duty,
characters of Call of
Warcraft,
Duty?
Yeah.
Minecraft.
Minecraft does make a brief appearance in Ready Player One.
Yeah. Minecraft is in there, in a way, sort of.
I guess I'm kind of out of touch with what people would
See,
extract
but this
from
is
the
the thing.
current
You
day and
listen,
age. To be
listen
honest.
to the podcast. I just play the stuff I like. I've got no fucking idea what other people are playing.
But what
Yeah,
would be
like
the
I'm far more casual gamer today than I was 10, 15 years ago. So the stuff that they're targeting through nostalgia in something like Ready Player One, based off when I was a teenager, I don't know what the equivalent of that is today, which is probably what you're getting at.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
mostly going to be the stuff that sells by the millions guaranteed every year, and there's not a lot in those. I would have thought.
Are we talking
Flappy Bird.
I was going to say Flappy Bird, Angry Birds, and Minions. Is that what our nostalgia's going to be in 30 years' time?
Candy Crush.
Oh
Yeah.
God! Please God, let me be dead before these films start coming out. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it might be stuff like Fortnite and PUBG, which are the big thing of the moment. But they're not like narrative-driven games whatsoever. So
And yet there are plans to make a PUBG game.
a PUBG.
Yeah, that's what it's called, isn't it? PUBG.
That's what you call it, but we'll stick with that.
But yeah, wasn't there plans to make like a whole franchise thing out of PUBG? Like
It's just battle royale with more guns and more people.
The guy wants to make films and TV shows and everything out of it. I don't know how fast he's planning on bursting his bubble, but yeah, it's not going to happen, lads. It can't.
Well, it's weird because it's not a story-driven game. There's no characters in it. It's a make-your-own-adventure kind of game. And you can play it differently every time and have different experiences. And the game's so big and varied. All sorts of crazy stuff can happen, but there's nothing specifically tangible to take out of it in terms of characters or plot. So what are you going to do with that? That's kind of weird, right? It's just a brand, it's the only thing that sticks out. PUBG is a brand now.
Are they the people who did RPG Maker?
Don't
Is
think
that the
so.
same
It's
people?
their first game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because RPG Maker was pretty big when I was, I don't know, 15-ish, I think. And it sounds kind of similar in that you just make the game. But, no. Okay, different people, different things, completely. Again, showing how out of my depth I am.
I tell you what, Lifeline time then. We'll move on and stop talking about. Unless you got anything else you want to say about Ready Player One, mate?
No, I think I've exhausted everything I had to say about that film.
Like 2 weeks ago when I emailed John, I said, right, so this is happening and this is happening. We could kind of segue this into a really cool, like, character unlock video game movie thing, and this could be awesome. And then I walked out of Ready Player One on Monday going, oh, for fuck's sake, I've got to talk about this now. So considering we've got 3 and a bit people who have graduated from the School of Foul Critics, it seems like an appropriate time to bring back the old Foul Critics triple bill, just with a little video gamey kind of twist. So seeing as we're talking about video game movies, we're going to go with a triple bill of video game movies. But slightly different. So we're going to have one film that we really like, if you can find one. I am aware that there will be some people that can't find a video game movie they like. One that they really hate, and one that we would like to see made. It can be into a TV show, into a movie. If you feel the need to play a Fortnite or to watch a Fortnite anime, just tell me. Get it out. We won't judge you much. Just, yeah. So we're going to start with video game movies that we like, because considering how negative the last hour has been, it would be nice to have a little bit of positivity, I suppose. So let's start with Owen.
Oh.
I'm going to deep end you, Mr. Hughes.
Yeah. That sounded very euphemistic.
Only if you want it to be.
Yeah, always.
Some things just don't change. Ever.
Yeah. It's good. Like, on Set the Tape, we don't swear. We don't have, like, any kind of innuendo, really, to come onto character. And, like, it's just like dusting off the old coat and, back into the old groove.
You're trying to be a professional over there, whereas we're just cunts.
I can relax. It's good. Like,
See, now we know why we haven't been invited, Brooker.
I know, right?
We're far too rough for Set the Tape.
Right, do you want my good film first?
Yes, come on in. Let's have your good film.
Okay. I have chosen as my good film Mortal Kombat from 1995.
Hey.
Yeah, man.
Yes. Yes, man, indeed. I kind of feel defensive about it whenever people mention Mortal Kombat. I automatically go into a sort of mode where I'm like, don't slag it off. It's good. What are you talking about? Because people seem to have a tendency to dislike Paul W.S. Anderson. But I kind of see him a little bit as a maverick filmmaker. And I quite like that about him.
Yeah.
He basically gave American films two fingers and said, well, you're too restrictive.
Germany.
Yeah, and just said, I'll go and make films in Europe then.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mortal Kombat was before that really happened. And it's, arguably, I'm not saying it's his best movie. I think that's still Event Horizon. I don't think he's bettered Event Horizon.
You mean to say Resident Evil isn't his best movie?
No, I don't. But Mortal Kombat is my favourite computer game adaptation. I mean, we were going on about nostalgia earlier and how, messed up that can be. But I do have a lot of nostalgia towards Mortal Kombat. Nevertheless, I have watched it a couple times again in the sort of recent years. I still think it holds up. I think it's a slice of mid-90s strong visual action movie.
It has got a lot of that awful CGI that we were talking about previously.
It has, but it's cool. I think it's cool.
Oh, absolutely. I fucking love the Mortal Kombat movie. I love Paul Anderson films anyway, for the most part, I think, apart from maybe the Three Musketeers. I love Mortal Kombat. But the nostalgia gets me every time. The second you hear that theme tune, mate, every time.
Mortal Kombat!
I'm right fucking in there.
Yeah, it's awesome. Banging, Brooker, is what the soundtrack is.
Is it banging?
Banging.
Is it banging?
Yeah, I made a note of that from Ready Player One. It hasn't really got a particularly strong cast, has it? I mean, I think Christopher Lambert is probably the only actor that any non-film buffs listening are going to recognise.
But that's only because he's the Highlander.
Christopher Lambert.
Yeah,
exactly. But
even he was fucking clever enough to not come back for number 2.
He didn't do the second one, no. Or the TV show.
No.
No, quite sensible.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm sure there are as well going to be gamers are sick of the comparisons between Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat because it's a very cliche comparison. But I think if you compare the two films, the Street Fighter film and Mortal Kombat films that came out at relatively similar times, you can see how each film handles a humongous list of characters differently.
Yeah.
I think Street Fighter suffered because Capcom kept intervening at every point in the process and saying, "Oh, you need to add more Chun-Li," or
Yeah.
Make sure you get Balrog in there or something. And so, like, it happened to the point that the film suffered because of that, because it was just a show reel of pointless cameos from the computer game for people to go, oh, that's that guy. Whereas I think Mortal Kombat, those characters are there for short stints, but it's totally fine because the whole premise of the film is that it's taking place in another realm and it's a big fighting tournament. So when you get like Reptile or Scorpion or Sub-Zero or whoever it is, just like pop up, everyone said maybe Jax. It's quite cool because it's just like they're only there for a brief period because you've got 3 characters you're focusing on.
Yeah.
And it works, I think, as in that sort of thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, dialogue's
do you think it's comparable as a comic book version, for lack of a better word, to Enter the Dragon? You know, it's just OTT Enter the Dragon taking the piss, because it pretty much is. You know, you recruiting all these Earth Realm amazing fighters to fight in this tournament against a vicious bad guy who's got plans of taking over the world, which is, you know, it's Enter the Dragon, isn't it? Except instead of having Bruce Lee there to avenge the death of his sister, you've got Liu Kang. I think he's avenging the death of his brother or something like that.
Played by the guy that played Bruce Lee?
Yeah. No, sorry. I think, it's definitely ripping vibes from... Yes, another thing I noted down, remember? Ripping vibes from Enter the Dragon.
Can I cut one person off of a call?
But no, I think it's totally inspired by it, and that's no bad thing. You know, Enter the Dragon's a fucking brilliant masterpiece of filmmaking for B movies everywhere. But like, Mortal Kombat is not on the same level, but it's still a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, and one of the reasons why it succeeds is because it's heavily contributed to by Ed Boon and John Tobias, who are the creators of Mortal Kombat, the game. So Paul W.S. Anderson is running the show, but he's getting a lot of input from the people who made the game in the first place. So it's definitely true to form, unlike Street Fighter.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Street Fighter is definitely a studio-led film.
And whilst it's not amazingly cast, you know, the most important roles, I think they do get right. Liu Kang's cast very well. Shang Tsung's cast well. Yeah. I think Christopher Lambert's wasted as Raiden because he doesn't fight at all, which is the biggest shame. And then for the sequel, they get a different actor in entirely and just crush the continuity there, which is a big shame. But everyone remembers it because it was better than Street Fighter at the time. And I think doing research for this podcast, I was sort of looking at a list of video game movies, just trying to remember which ones I'd seen and which ones I hadn't. And if you check out the scores on Metacritic for all the sort of big US-made video game to movie adaptations, whilst they all score quite badly in general, Mortal Kombat is the highest scoring of them all. So it definitely does something right.
Mm.
Yeah.
For sure.
And of course, the KMFDM song's just awesome.
Yeah.
Right. John.
Yes. A good film.
Yes, please.
You're going to go Mortal Kombat Annihilation, John?
Almost.
Street Fighter.
No, but I am sticking with the whole Paul W.S. Anderson vibe for a good film, because apparently he made all of the good video game films. Because despite being a massive sissy girl and hating horror, I'm picking one of the Resident Evil films.
Which one?
I'm going for Afterlife.
Okay.
I'm going with Afterlife because it was... Well, I really like the Resident Evil films, but this is also one of the first 3D movies I ever watched.
Okay, yeah.
And the 3D in Resident Evil Afterlife was fucking amazing.
It was really good, actually. For retrofitted 3D, it was actually really, really good.
Didn't this film gross, like, incredibly highly?
Yeah.
If I remember reading right, like, it was super, super successful.
Yeah. I think it was exclusive to 3D as well. Or it was a 3D exclusive, so obviously every screening that was done had inflated ticket prices as well. So that's the cynical twat in me going, It wasn't that good, but that's how it made its money. But I really liked it. But I'm very forgiving of the Resident Evil films. I think they're really good.
It's a brilliant marketing technique, to be fair. You can only watch this if you watch it in 3D. It's like the Tarantino. You can't watch it in his Cineworld because I won't release it on a different format than what I filmed it.
Yeah.
But it works because it's like the back to the claustrophobic style, because it's the one in the prison, with the plane landing on the roof of the prison, and then ending on a boat. Just like every Resident Evil 1 film, it's pretty much just all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
Does it have any correlation to any of the games? Because I know the first one's loosely based on the first game. The second film is based on Resident Evil 2 and a bit of 3. But I kind of lost track after that.
No.
No, there's no basis to the games apart from the appearance of a couple of characters that are in the games. This one's okay. Chris and Claire Redfield are in this one, and so's Jill briefly.
Yeah.
Very briefly.
But at this point, the Resident Evil films, or at that point, Resident Evil films were more about the name dropping than they were actually being anything to do with the games that come out previously.
Right, so it's kind of gone off on its own tangent at this point.
Which I think was the right thing to do, because the fact is everybody hated Resident Evil 1 because it wasn't enough like Resident Evil 1. So
I liked the first one. I thought it did okay.
I thought it was great. But it has a Marilyn Manson and Slipknot filled soundtrack, which sells it to me quite well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you had Chris and Claire Redfield and the dude with the sack on his head from Resident Evil 5.
Yeah.
5 or 4?
5.
5.
Yeah, it's the Executioner.
Yeah, the Executioner. Sackhead.
Yeah. Not to be confused with the Bagheads, who are the dudes with the chainsaws.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fucking... The cast's actually pretty good, considering it's the fourth film in the franchise where they're really running short on who they can just add into it because people are looking at it going, oh, there's an easy paycheck on this. We had Kim Coates from Sons of Anarchy.
Well, Kim Coates from everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Kim Coates is one of those that you'll go back and start watching movies from like the mid-'80s and go, holy fuck, Kim Coates is in this.
True. Wentworth Miller is Chris.
From Prison Break.
Yep. So, him in a prison. Escaping a prison, actually. Pretty much his entire career is based on him escaping prisons.
It's almost like that's what he's good at.
No tattoos in this one, though.
No.
Yeah, I like in Prison Break here. They always made him wear jumpers.
See,
got me bothered to draw that back on every time.
I got really angry watching Prison Break because like, seasons 1 and 2 they put effort in and put them on his arms every time. Season 3 they made him wear a sweatshirt all the time so they didn't have to. There were fucking scenes in season 4 where he was wearing a t-shirt and had no tattoos. They'd just given up completely.
It was the point where they went, oh, he had surgery to have them removed in like half an hour. So,
I looked at it and I went, if you're not going to fucking bother, neither am I, and I turned it off. Anyways.
Sorry, I'm slight tangent there.
But this one, okay, so there are some slight tie-ins to the games because there's the chest spiders, which are in Resident Evil 5. The whole let's mind control someone by putting
through the ribcage.
Through the ribcage, pretty much, yeah. Don't fucking understand how that works, but they decided to throw it into the film for 2 characters of Claire at the start, and then she gets amnesia, so when she bumps into her brother, she doesn't recognize him. And in the kind of mid-credit scene with Jill, when she's blonde for some reason, just like in Resident Evil 5, where she goes blonde for some reason.
Why not? Isn't Jill Ali Lata?
No, that's Claire. Ali Lata.
Oh,
Jill is Sienna Guroy, if I pronounce it right. Guroy.
Let's just go with yes.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
But Wesker's in it. And Wesker makes a big difference in Resident Evil films because he's a fucking absolute mental nutcase.
Was he the first Wesker? Because he got recast at one point, didn't he, in the films?
This is second Wesker, because I'm pretty sure there's 3.
Second Wesker's the best Wesker.
Yeah, because first Wesker is in 3 and maybe 2 briefly.
Yep.
Because they don't bother having Wesker because they've got dude from Game of Thrones being the main villain instead. Fuck, I've forgotten his name.
Playing Billy Burke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they recast Wesker in 4 and 5, and then they recast him again for 6, I think.
Fair enough.
I'm confused.
Yeah, I've watched most of them multiple times.
Let's just constantly recast the main villain and change his role from being the main villain to being just some guy.
Yeah.
But
and maybe have him possibly be a good guy at the end.
Yeah, because he's actually a robot.
Yeah.
There we go.
What?
Welcome to Paul Anderson movies.
Oh no!
I think we need to move away from this pretty quick.
Yeah. Resident Evil is a really fucking insane story. Like the whole, you have to watch all of them, even though you should never watch all of them, just to understand what the fuck's going on, because they all tie together so loosely, and the story changes so much for no reason, just for the sake of it, and they just add different characters constantly.
Yep. It is literally because why the fuck not?
It also sounds like it suffers from the terrible naming convention of the westernized version of the game as opposed to the Japanese version, which is Biohazard. What is the resident that is evil in these games after the first one? There isn't one. So why are they called Resident Evil thereafter? It doesn't make sense. And it sounds like you're here, there, and everywhere with these movies after the first one.
You're proper all over the shop. At one point, you're suddenly in Las Vegas, which is, it's
covered in sand.
Completely covered in sand that happened somehow because of a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
The desert took it back.
But literally, trying to bring logic to these films will give you a headache. Just get beer.
I haven't seen any of them after the second one, so I'm not going to obviously make an opinion of them. If John says they're good, I'm going to believe him.
They're fine. I like the Resident Evil films for the popcorn fodder that they are.
Yeah, it just sounds like they've stolen a brand and then made something else though completely different.
Yeah.
It's like that could have been any other movie, like by name, and it would have been a good sci-fi movie or whatever, or a good action movie, but it isn't. It's not Resident Evil. It certainly isn't Biohazard.
At one point,
something else.
At one point, it has StarCraft Mutalisks in it.
Oh, well, I'm all for that. Let's just call it StarCraft 5 and get on with it then.
Absolutely.
That would be awesome.
It's a good thing you jumped off the boat on 2, because in 3, Alice has superpowers.
Yes.
Yeah, it was kind of like hinting at that, I think, even by the second one, if I remember. I don't have a problem with it. There's no point just doing a carbon copy of the games and adding nothing to it. It's an extra character, so she's going to be different, and it has to fit in around an existing mythology. So you've got to go places with it. But
and then she loses her superpowers in 3.
Well,
and then she gets them back at the end of 4. And then mysteriously doesn't have them in the last one.
I think I got the entire collection minus the most recent one.
Right, so what you need to do, mate, is sit down with a lot of beer and just watch them from start to finish. And if you need a nap,
what I'm doing for my 40th birthday then.
There you go. If you need a nap, somewhere around 3 will be good.
I'm going to hire a bar with a big screen. I'm going to get you guys over. We're going to watch all the Resident Evil films back to back.
I'm good for that.
Hire a local Cineworld for a screen.
Nice.
Matt, save us, mate, please.
Okay. I have a feeling Owen knows where I'm going to go with mine.
I think so.
But there was an honourable mention I wanted to drop in very quickly. I won't go off too much of a tangent. I did have 2, but Owen made Mortal Kombat as one of them. So my remaining one, it's an unofficial amateur movie called Metal Gear Solid Philanthropy, which came out in 2009, was released on the web and is on YouTube for free. You can go watch it. It's by a small Italian team of amateur filmmakers called Hive Division, and they made this film. It's just over an hour long, on a budget of about $10,000, and it's live action with some CGI spliced in, you know, for the Metal Gears, the mechs, and stuff like that. But it's pretty high quality given the limited amount of budget that they have, and a hell of a lot of love went into the movie. It's clearly made by Metal Gear fanatics. I was going to say it's well cast. It's by the people who do the game, not the game, I beg your pardon, who have made the movie, but they managed to make it work just about. And even though they're Italian, it's dubbed over with an English dub, with a guy who sounds a lot like David Hayter who voices Solid Snake in the Metal Gear game. So the authenticity is there. And it was supposed to be part of a 3-part series. And even Hideo Kojima himself sort of got on board in terms of supporting it and giving praise to it and promoting it. But Konami, being Konami, put a spanner in the works and put a stop to it. So there's only one part of this 3-parter that's ever been released, and it's never likely to get finished, but it's well worth just dipping into for like 60 minutes on YouTube. It's really, really cool. But the main one I want to talk about is Street Fighter 2, the animated movie.
Mm-hmm. I knew it.
It's one that I've written about on the Failed Critics website. It's probably one of my top 5 animated films of all time.
Is this the one with the Chun-Li shower scene?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is, I don't know, if other people don't want to say it's the best video game to movie adaptation, that's fine, but this is the most authentic. I think it's almost undeniable. This is so closely knitted into the Street Fighter mythology that anyone who likes that game is going to love this film. But just to sort of give you a brief idea of what the context of the movie is about, it's mostly following the story of Ryu and Ken. Ryu's a vagabond who's going from place to place looking for challenges, people to fight, for no particular reason, just that he's a badass. For the most part, he tries to stay out of trouble, but people seem to want to pick a fight with him more than anything. And Ken is more the guy who he's trained with Ryu. He wants to prove that he's the best in the world, but he just destroys everyone he comes up against. But he can't get his hands on Ryu because he's here, there, and everywhere. And fate kind of brings them back together when the Shadow Law organization, which is the criminal network that's run by Bison, is sending cyborgs out to various destinations across the world to watch people fight and try and determine who the best super soldiers would be for his use. And this is how they all sort of come together. Now, that kind of bit of it's a little bit convoluted, but it brings the cast of the game together quite nicely. And artistically, it looks a lot like the game. It's very violent. It's got plenty of gore. It's certainly not trying to be child friendly enough to get youngsters into a cinema. It's very adult orientated, hence the Chun-Li shower scene that you referred to. And it's got an amazing soundtrack. I mean, this film single-handedly altered my taste in music back when this came out in 1994. Now I was listening to like Britpop and buying the latest. That's what I call music CDs every month or whatever it was when they came out. And then this come out, and it has Korn, Blind, Israel's Son by Silverchair, Them Bones by Alice in Chains, and Ultra by KMFDM. Just incredible.
That is a soundtrack.
It absolutely changed me, like single-handedly. Like I wouldn't have been exposed to that type of music if I wasn't watching this film. So I was forever sort of changed after that. It's just super satisfying. As a Street Fighter fan, it's all there. All the moves are on display, properly illustrated. Everyone's as badass as they should be. There's no kind of weak character in it. Everyone's dangerous to a point, but obviously Ryu and Ken are the stars of the show, so they're like the true badasses. And even just the beginning, like it gives you a kind of genesis for how Ryu and Sagat have a rivalry and how Sagat got the big scar on his chest. It pieces everything together absolutely wonderfully. And Owen alluded to earlier on with Capcom over interfering in the Street Fighter live action film. Capcom have involvement and direction in this, but they never overstep the mark. It's all appropriate, and it doesn't get too far fetched. And everything that happens in the film is, believable in the realms of Street Fighter 2. So it just works. And it was quite well marketed in respect that it came out around the same time as Super Street Fighter 2, the game. And the same artwork was used to promote this movie and the game itself. So the crossover was quite well performed there. There was synergy between the two, and it was great. So for me, whether you think it's necessarily the best, I personally do, but others will differ. It's the most authentic, and it definitely gets the big thumbs up from me. It's one that I can watch time and time again. It's just great.
Doesn't seem to age either, does it? You can watch it now, and it's like, I mean, it's obviously the soundtrack puts it into a particular date, but I mean, it's still, I think, pretty good now.
It's like anime generally.
Yeah.
Of a certain quality doesn't age. Once you get to that sort of like early to mid 90s, and the quality of the animation is so high compared to, say, early 80s stuff like I've covered on Film Critics. Say Fist of the North Star is very dateable, even though it's good, but it's very much of its time. Street Fighter, you could put that out today and it will look just as good as it did then. It also sort of encouraged the way the direction that the series went into, because after this film came out alongside Super Street Fighter 2, a year or two later they did Street Fighter Alpha, which very much borrows from the art style of this movie. So they definitely leaned on that for the direction of where the next 3 iterations of the game was going as well, which brings it even further up to date, if you like. And you'll definitely see the influence of this film when they release the Street Fighter 30th anniversary collection later this year, because a lot of the art direction, it's evolved over the years, has come from this movie.
Did you watch, I'm sure you've told me before, but did you watch the Street Fighter Alpha movie?
I haven't. No, I had it. There was a series that came out a year or two after the animated movie called Street Fighter V, which I tried to keep up with for a while, but it was just ridiculous. And then I kind of lost interest because I just expect them all to be terrible here on, and so I haven't watched Street Fighter. But I've heard some people say it's not half bad.
Yeah, it's fine. It's all right. It's worth a watch if you like this one, for sure. It's more Akuma based from what I remember, but it's still pretty good. Yeah, there was a live action movie that someone made as well not too long back.
Legend of Chun-Li.
No.
Oh God, no.
No, it was like a crowdsourced movie that this guy made, and it was 2 hours long, I think. And they put so much effort into making all of the fight moves look like they do in the game that it was just. Have you seen the Star Trek the motion picture?
Yeah.
The movie. You know the bit where they're panning around the Enterprise and it seems to go on forever and nothing's happening. They're just going, look at the Enterprise. It looks like it does in the TV series, but bigger. That's basically what that Street Fighter movie's like. So they go, look, that's just like what Ken does in the game, but real. It just goes on for ages doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm all for a little bit of fan service, but it's got to be within the context of trying to be entertaining within the realms of the movie, right? And the animated movie does that. There's not a lot that's just in there just for nostalgic purpose or just to like tick a box. It all has a function, it has a purpose, which is where it succeeds. The plot, whilst it's wacky as fuck, quite frankly, is vaguely believable and intertwinable with what's going on in Street Fighter. And just to further add to how this movie connects with the series, there was a game that came out. So we have the movie that's based on the game, and then we have a game that's based on the movie, which was Street Fighter 2, the interactive movie, where you play the role of one of the monitor cyborgs that watches people fight. Very strange. And then, of course, you have the live action movie based on the game, and then there's a game that's based on the live action movie. So it's very meta. It goes all over the place. quite frankly. But yeah, it's got a good legacy, this one, and I think you would find it'd be hard to find too many people who would put it down. I think.
I haven't seen the animated movie for ages. Like,
But
absolutely
you remember
ages.
the Chun-Li shower scene instantly.
Everybody remembers the Chun-Li shower scene.
I think that's very telling of you, Brooker. That's the first thing that comes to you.
Not afraid to admit it. Right, well, I'll tell you what, I will get us away from Chun-Li and her tits. Kind of.
Please don't.
But I'll go, actually, with your YouTube thing, I'm going to kind of go in that similar direction. And my favourite one, I think, is going to have to be Mortal Kombat Legacy. Have you guys come across this?
No.
Right,
Not in the same way I've come across Street Fighter the animated movie.
Well, no, that's good. Lads, bear with me 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
Wow, that Chun-Li thing really did have an effect on it.
Needs a cold shower now.
It's one of the best fight scenes in the film as well, actually.
There you go. Sorry, guys.
That's what the after the shower scene with Vega.
Yes.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It is awesome.
It's a bit perv because it's a bit up the skirt sometimes, but it's
Oh, well, that's just...
Welcome to anime.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right, sorry, guys. I had to sort the dog who was yelping in her sleep.
Oh.
So I had to go wake her up.
Dreaming
Mate.
of Chun.
Mainly because she was annoying me. Yeah, so I should start again. Yeah, so Mortal Kombat Legacy, which is a 2-season long, I think, basically TV show, Mortal Kombat based TV show that was on the Machinima webtube? What the fuck? YouTube page. Which is like little bite-sized segments of Mortal Kombat story. It was based off of a proof of concept thing that this guy put together with Jerry Ryan from Deep Space Nine,
Oh.
playing Sonya Blade.
No, that's casting.
That is casting, isn't it? And Michael J. White playing Jax.
Yeah, that's pretty much bob on.
It really was. This is the thing. Like when so the proof of concept was called Mortal Kombat Rebirth, and they done this thing, and everybody watched it and wasn't quite sure what it was, and it was this dude just trying to get like Midway and Warner or whoever was involved, or New Line, sorry, to say let's make another Mortal Kombat film. More importantly, let's make a good Mortal Kombat film. And it didn't happen. But what did happen was they were allowed to make this show, like I said, in 20-minute increments, telling a different bit of the Mortal Kombat story. And he has like 14 episodes in total, and it will never have a season 3 because there's no money in Machinima videos. But yeah, it's really... it tries to, you know how like you watch a gritty reboot of a film or a book or something, it tries to be realistic. So like Baraka isn't just a monster, he's been experimented on. And, you know, Sub-Zero is really the bad guy and Scorpion's the good guy, and they get their powers through being angry and shit like this. It's completely daft, complete garbage, but it is so good. And because you can watch it on YouTube at work in 20-minute segments, it makes it all the better. There's not much to say about it. It's dark. Well, I tell you, I can't pronounce the director's name. Kevin something. Apparently, he's a dancer who's also a director. It says a lot.
I think that's a good thing though for stuff like this. I think you need a choreographer who can understand movement.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And the way movement looks. I think that's
But here's the thing: since he's done Mortal Kombat Legacy, he's done episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and The Flash and Supergirl, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, Iron Fist, and Inhumans.
Oh well, it's all downhill from Mortal Kombat.
Well, yeah, pretty much, yeah. Well, Well, I don't know. It was pretty downhill beforehand as well. The Pussycat Dolls present The Search for the Next Doll. I don't.
Okay, he peaked quite early in his career.
Yeah, pretty much. But I don't have much else to say about it. It's. I'm that guy. I'm the Mortal Kombat noob who just loves Scorpion because I'm basically a grown-up emo.
Nice. So is it like based around any entry of Mortal Kombat in particular, or is it just like everything's just a big mishmash?
Pretty much all of the lore that's ever been put together for Mortal Kombat is fair game here. So you get the story of the rivalry between Sub-Zero and Scorpion and how it began. You get Jax and Sonya being special forces guys going after Kano, and Kano being a badly experimented on cyborg. If you've read it on any of the character bios on Mortal Kombat, it's in this show. But they try very hard to bring a lot of the characters that you wouldn't expect as well. So, like I said, things like Baraka's there, which I didn't expect. Obviously, Jax and Johnny Cage is there. I think in season 2 he's played by who's the guy from Starship Troopers? Casper Van Diem.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right.
Kenshi, Stryker, Melina, all of the Quan Chi's there, all of them.
There's some bad characters in Mortal Kombat. I was just thinking, God, if they put Stryker in, because he is bad.
Stryker is just an awful, awful character.
I mean, that's the problem with Mortal Kombat compared to Street Fighter 2 as a game, and how it would affect it as a film is in Mortal Kombat there's far more palette swaps, and what I mean by that is basically it's the same character in a different colour with the same moveset.
Yeah.
And it's just duplication, whereas you got a little bit of that with Ryu and Ken with some minor adjustments in between, but for the most part, most of the characters are unique, whereas with Mortal Kombat, you've got Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Reptile, Noob Saibot, Cyrax, blah, blah, they're all the bloody same.
Yep.
It doesn't make for a lot of...
It doesn't make for variety.
When it comes to making it into a film or something.
No. So for the most part, they've done well with not having all of those people, maybe all in the films, but not all on the screen at the same time. And the thing about Mortal Kombat Legacy is because it's in little sections, that doesn't bother you. So you'll spend 20 minutes on Scorpion's story, and then the next episode will be Jax, and the episode after that will be Kung Lao, and episode after that will be Sub-Zero, who's the same as Scorpion. So because it's bite size, it doesn't bother you at all, and it's a YouTube show. It's not high budget. If you go in expecting another Paul W.S. Anderson film, you're going to be sorely disappointed. But if you go and watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation and then go and watch this YouTube TV show, you might actually enjoy it.
Although I'm looking at the cast.
Like Annihilation.
I'm looking at the cast of it at the minute.
Yep.
And it says Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa's in season 2 as Shang Tsung.
Yep.
Does he actually play a major part, or is it just like a flashback to something that happened in the movie?
No, I'm pretty sure he plays Shang Tsung as Shang Tsung and is in it for a bit.
He's 67.
Soul is mine.
Yeah,
But it wasn't played by him in season 1.
Yeah, it says it was someone else.
But that works though, because he can change into whoever he wants.
Yeah.
He ages and becomes young, so you can kind of like get around that.
I'm almost certain, I can't remember, but I think Mark Dacascos plays Kung Lao. Mark Dacascos, for people that don't know, he was in like one Steven Seagal movie, and that was it. He done well. No, that's unfair. He done a few films, but what he does now is present Iron Chef in the US. And has done for a long time. My other half watch it as like cooking channels on a lot, and I go, that's not fucking Mark Dacascos, surely. And he's sitting there doing karate chops and shit at contestants, and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Sounds great.
It's the ultimate sellout. It's amazing. But yeah, that's my good film. Sorry, go on, mate.
I was a little expecting you to say Dead Rising Watchtower.
I love Dead Rising Watchtower, but mainly because the Soska sisters are in it for like 2 seconds, and I love those
That's
two.
all Brooker needed.
It's all I need. I love those two. I think they're great. So before we move on to the bad films, I put out a thing on Twitter and Facebook each day for this, and I asked people what their favourite films were, or what their not so favourite films were. I actually got a lot of response. Well, I say a lot, more responses than normal. I was quite chuffed, actually. First up, though, was our mate Brian Plank on Twitter, so at New Rules for a New Life. Took the piss and said his favourite video game to movie adaptation was Moneyball. Telling me it was a film adaptation of MLB The Show. Fuck you, Brian.
We'll pretend.
Yeah.
It's a good film.
On Facebook, Matt Latham said Street Fighter. So,
I mean, it's not a bad film, though, is the annoying thing.
it's not a bad film. It's
just a bad adaptation.
Yeah.
It's a bad Street Fighter film,
Yeah.
but it's so bad that I watch it every time it's on. It's hilarious. It's the perfect Friday night. Just got home from the pub, need to watch something before I go to bed movie. It's great.
Just coked up actors kicking the shit out of things, isn't it?
Pretty much. Our mate Lee Loveridge said Final Fantasy Advent Children and asked if that counts. Pretty sure it does.
Yes, it does.
I very nearly went for that.
He said
Definitely
brilliant
better
film.
Spirits Within, which is garbage.
He said if it doesn't count, then Silent Hill, which I will give him. That was close to being on my list. Because I fucking love Silent Hill. Dog, fuck off. Every fucking time. Amy Saxby said Doom. And then she said, just for the last couple of minutes in first person. And once I learned to separate the Resident Evil films from the games, I began to enjoy them for the harmless popcorn fodder they are.
Yeah, fair point.
Good old Amy. I quite liked that bit you mentioned in Doom. When it goes first person, it's a good action scene.
It is such a fucking terrible film, but that I love.
It's 89 minutes of crap around it, isn't it?
Yeah, I love
I
the.
like Doom. I think fans of the game were offended at the time because Sarge, who's played by Dwayne Johnson, turns bad. He can't turn bad. He's like the perennial defender
He's
of
Doom
Earth. He
guy.
can't turn bad. He is the Doom guy. And then they changed that to Reaper.
Yeah,
It was played by what's his name?
Carl Urban.
Carl Urban.
That's the guy. Apart from that, it's harmless fun, and the first person scene's pretty hilarious. And I love the scene where Dexter Fletcher turns into the Pinky Demon. It's great.
That was amazing. I couldn't tell if he was taking the piss or not, but John Schaefer said Super Mario Brothers. Pretty sure he was taking the piss.
John, that Shafe will be taking the piss out of that.
He can kiss my ass. Super Mario Brothers isn't even the best Super Mario Brothers movie. And then our mate Tony said, you know my answer to this already. Last year's Assassin's Creed for me, so underrated. And I will definitely let him have that. Also close to being on my list. I fucking loved Assassin's Creed. But it walks a very fine line, much like Tomb Raider does as well, by the sounds of it. If you don't know the games or don't like the games, you probably won't like the film.
See, I'm prepared to give that a chance on the basis that I've never played Assassin's Creed.
It does rely heavily on you knowing some of it, which is a bit of a downfall. You should be able to watch these films and not know anything about the games and still enjoy them. I don't think that's the case here, but then a lot of people that love the games hated the film as well. So what do I know?
Where do we stand on? I know where you stand, Brooker, on this, but where do we stand on Hardcore Henry as a video game movie? Because it's totally inspired by video games.
Totally inspired by it. It basically removes the. It takes the back end of the All Gillied Up mission and puts it into film form, scene for scene.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen that, but it looked hilarious in the trailer.
I fucking hated that movie so much.
I love Sharlto Copley, and I think he was brilliant in it. But
I love
it gave
him.
me a headache, that film.
I think Sharto Copley's great, and I'll watch him in anything. And he was basically the reason I wanted to watch Hardcore Henry, but no.
Yeah.
I'll allow Hardcore Henry on the same basis that we're allowing Edge of Tomorrow.
Yes.
Ooh,
Because Edge of Tomorrow, and I've said this a million times, Edge of Tomorrow is a film about save point abuse.
That's clever, yeah. I love that film. That's a great film.
Yeah, brilliant.
So let's move on, and let's do shit films, or our worst films, or whatever you like. So off you go then, Owen. Over to you.
Okay. So I've probably seen worse films than this, probably. I mean, I remember thinking Double Dragon was a load of shit,
Oh, fucking
but I
hell.
barely remember any specifics about it. But I never really got on with the game either. We had it on the NES and it was just fucking solid. So,
So many arcade cabinets broken trying to play Double Dragon.
yeah. And as Shafe mentioned, Mario Brothers, I mean, that was cack. But again, like, I don't really remember enough specifics about them. And I just did not
Lucky.
want to go back and rewatch it, either of those films for this.
Yes,
So
that's a
I'm
good
picking
call.
one. Yeah, I'm picking one I saw a couple of years ago, which is Warcraft.
No,
Is that yours as well?
no, but I thought it was okay. It's like
Okay.
it's again, it's so nuts, but it was
Is it
kind of
though?
entertaining.
I really wanted Warcraft to be good. You know how you can kind of be swung in one direction or the other by the experience you have when you're watching these films? Yeah, the experience I had watching Warcraft was not a good one. It was a midnight screening because it was the only time I could actually find time to get to the cinema to watch Warcraft. So I was at a midnight screening of Warcraft with a bunch of smelly fucking gamers, all of them wearing BlizzCon t-shirts. None of them had washed. I was like, lads, none of you are helping our cause one little bit here.
That
What
sounds
the
like all the retro conventions I go to.
It basically,
Hygiene attack.
it smelt like the queue outside EGX on day 4. I was like, this is just grim. Why the fuck am I here? And then I thought that the entire time I was watching Warcraft.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I watched it in the sanctity of my own home
Yeah.
on Sky, and yeah, it was a good romp, overly long and a little bit too Lord of the Ringish for its own good. But I particularly like the scene towards the end whereby the good orc is getting his arse handed to him by the bad orc. I was like, this is really, really dramatic. I really like it. But so it's. I generally don't have a high opinion of most video game related movies, but I thought Warcraft did itself justice, and I'd be prepared to watch a sequel, put it that way. But I'm more keen to hear what Owen has to say about it.
Yeah. Sorry,
Well-
Owen, we just kind of took over there.
I don't think it should be called Warcraft. It should be Infrequent Skirmish Craft, because there is no war in it. There's just lots of.
It's building
So-
up. That's the thing. You got to. There's a massive mythology behind Warcraft. With the first game, it came with an enormous book which told you a shitload about what had happened before the events of the first game. It's building up to what you're expecting, I think. So you've perhaps gone in there because of the name and what you know about it with slightly false expectations. But it's going to get there if they do decide to carry him on. But yeah, it's a lot of setup in that.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I have played the first three games. I never played Warcraft Online or World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft.
Thank you. But I didn't go in expecting anything really. What I went in was thinking, okay, this is a big fantasy, semi-adventure movie, I guess. And I just thought it's going to be, at the very least, a kind of mystical fantasy film, something that's going to have a bit of magic about it. Not least because the characters in it can perform magic things. It'll have creatures, it'll have big epic battles. I wasn't expecting it to be Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. If it was more like Willow, I would have been happy with it. But I just thought it was just really so sort of serious, and it just didn't have the epic background to or basis to build from. It was just a boring world full of like dull characters and nothing meant anything in it. It was just I just found it incredibly tedious, and I don't necessarily think a film based on a game from 20 years ago needs you to know that there was a book that came with the first one that you should read and understand for it. I mean, it's meant to be a movie in its own right, and in that sense, I just thought it was just a load of crap. I just didn't enjoy a second of it. But, I mean, maybe it is better if you know all that stuff. But, for me, I just sat there thinking, what the hell is Dominic Cooper doing in this? How did he get roped into Warcraft?
Fair point.
But the guy from Vikings is in it. To be fair, that was probably my favourite bit, was him, just because I love him. But, yeah.
I just thought there was so much potential. There's so much, like, for,
Was it because you went in expecting a Duncan Jones movie?
A Zoe Bowie film?
Yeah.
I thought it could have some kind of character, or, I mean, like I say, I'm not sitting there thinking, oh, this is going to be like a, 9-hour, $700 million movie like the Lord of the Rings films. It's going to be it's going to be massive and epic. I'm aware that the reputation of video game adaptations is not particularly high, even with the bunch of films that we've just talked about. So, I wasn't going in expecting a huge amount. I just wanted it to be an epic fantasy film, because we don't generally get many of those that are any good.
I think, unfortunately for Warcraft, it did come out in a post-Lord of the Rings world. And for that particular kind of film, that's a problem if you're not going to make a 9-hour, $700 million Lord of the Rings style epic.
But even so, just like think if this came out in the 90s as it was, I think this would still be a massive flop. It needed just a hint of personality.
No.
And it seemed devoid of it to me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it does kind of lack a big standout character to sort of rally behind. There's not one individual that you're really rooting for or upset when they die or blah blah blah. It's kind of flat in that regard. So I totally get what you're saying there.
Yeah. I just thought it was. I mean, considering how colourful it looked as well, there's just not much like. It just doesn't have any enthusiasm in it.
I think it's one of these ones that would be better on Netflix as a series.
Yeah.
And you go Game of Thrones style of it, and make it ultra dark, ultra violent, and take it from there. Really, you can be as wacky as you want and divulge into the background and the mythology for as long as your budget allows. But trying to condense it into one film is probably asking a lot. And to really sort of mat out what they're trying to do with the story is going to take many movies, and it probably isn't going to be popular enough to warrant that many movies. So it's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good answer, then. John?
Okay, I'm going to join Owen's standpoint in saying that it's way too easy to say like Mario Bros or something. So I'm going to go with Need for Speed.
That film was fucking awful.
So, Need for Speed's jumping on the Fast and Furious hype. Now, let's be honest, no one has ever watched a Fast and Furious film for the plot.
No one's ever watched a Fast and Furious film and gone, you know what this needs? Michael Keaton.
I mean, this is the problem. Fast and the Furious is Need for Speed. They didn't need to make a Need for Speed movie. They already had it.
Yep.
So what's the point?
Yeah, Need for Speed was literally just, let's just take an idea and run with it for no reason. Just like grab random revenge story, throw fast cars in it, and then cast someone who's got a lot of hype behind them from a TV show that they were pretty good in, but this film really showed a very one-dimensional acting style of his. Whereas Aaron Paul, I like Aaron Paul. I thought he's been pretty good in some of the stuff that he's done, but in Need for Speed, he was literally just serial killer-esque in his demeanor, like no emotion at all at any point. It's like, my brother's died, I'm gonna be angsty and fuck all else. Well, it's not even his brother, it's like his best friend.
Which I don't think was ever a storyline in Need for Speed.
No.
And it was a storyline for the crew.
Yeah. So what you're saying is this is the crew film and not Need for Speed.
I'm sure EA would love me saying that about their film. Bellends
But
that they are.
Dominic Cooper's the villain, and he's clearly way more fun than Aaron Paul in this.
Yeah.
Like, they should have absolutely just swapped the two roles over and it would have made more sense.
Yeah. But you also have Michael Keaton trying to be Beetlejuice, the radio DJ.
Michael Keaton absolutely wasted just one whole day of his entire life because all of his segments were filmed in one day, I'm sure of it. There's no way they got him to do more than one day for like the 5 minutes of total film that he did.
He just stepped in to do this whilst they were finishing off the script for Birdman, probably.
Yeah.
It was probably filmed on the same lot. And they just like it was just like he was still in character and they just went, yeah, fuck it, let's just film him now.
But you
Here's
know,
the script, read it.
having played it since, I figured out who they're trying to be with Michael Keaton.
Okay.
They're trying to make him DJ Atomica.
Yes. You're right. That's his sole purpose.
The annoying cunt bag that's in my ear the entire time I'm playing Burnout Paradise. They're trying to make him. But yeah, no, fucking terrible film.
Yeah.
I completely forgot that film existed.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me.
It has one redeeming feature.
The credits?
Well, I was gonna because it's Need for Speed. It has that Need for Speed license to it, which means that the soundtrack's okay.
Yeah.
Because it's an EA soundtrack. They just went, yeah, let's just grab all of the good music you can put into a car film.
Yeah.
Did it have loads of saliva and POD by any chance?
Not quite that. It's Need for Speed, not Burnout.
Yeah, 90s new metal.
I do apologise.
What's wrong with saliva?
They just turn up for these like WWF and mainstream racing games and what you know what I mean. Rinse and repeat. Click, boom, and all that shit.
Don't ever watch Need for Speed if you haven't seen it.
No, if you haven't watched Need for Speed, there's no need to watch it ever. Just go watch Fast and Furious. They're much, much better. I'd rather watch Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift than Need for Speed.
I think they're doing a game soon on Tokyo Drift.
Oh,
Is it just Need for Speed Underground?
Have they ever made a Fast and Furious game? Just out of interest.
They made a DLC pack for one
Forza.
of the Forza games, isn't there?
Forza Horizon Fast and Furious isn't a DLC, it's a standalone. You can just download it and play it.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh. Is it any good?
It's the quickest 1000 Gs I've ever got.
Okay.
That's
I
not
think
an
it's just
answer.
going to mostly be like model reskins and stuff,
Yeah.
isn't it, with Fast and Furious cars and characters, but...
Yeah, it's pretty much that's it.
Hmm.
Cool.
You're driving around the Horizon 2 area. I think it's Horizon 2, and you just drive from A to B in the cars from the film, and then that's it.
Sounds thrilling.
It's
The
It is.
excitement to know when you
it's
work.
exactly what you want from a shitty movie.
It was
tie-in
strange
game.
and weird.
Given
Right.
away for free at one point.
Yeah. Moving on. I think quickly. We don't need to talk about Need for Speed anymore. Matt.
Yeah, I know Owen and John tiptoed around Mario Brothers, but I've got no shame. I'm going yeah, Super Mario Brothers, the movie. Now, I remember being particularly hyped about this when this came out because I was very young and naive and expected far too much. And I remember my brother went away for the weekend to Blackpool and brought me back a very poor pirated copy. So at least I didn't have to spend too much money on it to see it. But my God, what a load of crap.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen this in a long time, so I'm not going to give you the detailed review, but just more sort of cliff notes of what I remember. But it's fair to say that it just stole the name of Mario Brothers and perverted it into some random sci-fi nonsense.
Yes.
It's totally uninspired for me. Terribly bad casting, bad set design from what I remember. It's in some sort of chromy metropolis, nothing to do with like the Mushroom Kingdom as we know it in games. It's just covered in fungi shite everywhere, just to try and make it barely applicable to the game, at least in name. And it just lacked any continuity to tie it to Super Mario Brothers. And for me, it's only relevant today for providing a Marlon Harewood meme in the form of the Goomba soldiers.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen from time to time.
Yeah.
But I did like that they referred to Dennis Hopper as Cooper rather than Bowser, which is one thing they got right from the very early Mario games, which has slowly changed over time. But he is King Cooper, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, it's shite. Yeah.
Where did the Bowser name come from then, if that's not his name?
It just slowly evolved over time. I think that sort of came in by Mario Brothers 3, but in the first one, he was definitely Cooper.
Yep.
Oh, right.
And they are as children, which you fight in Mario Brothers 3 and in Super Mario Bros. Referred to as Koopalings. So it kind of like it's there, but it's just slowly changed. It's the same as like Princess Toadstool has turned into Peach over time. It's just why. Don't know. It just has.
Oh, fair enough. I think it came out around the time they were really pumped about making stuff that kids liked into movies. It was like He-Man and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. And Mario just happened to be part of that group, didn't it?
It seems obvious.
Kids like it. Yeah.
Like it was the most popular thing ever. I mean, if you think Mario's big now, you've got to cast yourself back to like 1989, 1990.
It was
and
everywhere.
Super Mario Bros. 3 came out, and America in particular just went fucking nuts for it. It seemed so obvious to turn it into a movie. They just didn't do a good job of it at all. Anyone who saw that, if it had a different name, you wouldn't say that was anything to do with Mario Brothers at all.
No.
And to be fair, what were you supposed to do with it? I mean, it's a pretty weird premise.
Well, this is it. It's there is next to no story in Mario. There's nothing to be put to film.
See, this is what I think.
Mario Brothers Super Show. In the movie, to be honest.
I think having just a hint of story is the best thing to do for it. I mean, obviously in the next bit I'll tell you my choice of game, but I think having the hint of story is the best way of adapting these things. But I was just going to add as well for Mario. I only knew this because Callum Petch told me the other day, but there is a Mario film in the works.
Yeah, Illumination are making it.
Yeah, Illumination. People who made Despicable Me.
Yep.
Ooh, that's got potential then.
See, I'm very excited about that, and I know for a fact that Callum is not, because Callum does not like Illumination, and I really kind of do. Not all of their stuff I could quite happily live without seeing, but I don't mind their shit. It's just daft fun. But I'm one of the few people that like The Secret Life of Pets. I thought it was fun, so
Yeah.
I'll let them make a Mario film, and I'll go watch it. It can't be any fucking worse than the Ratchet and Clank movie.
True. I guess. I don't know.
Go on then, Brooker, what's your bad choice?
So, you say you've got no shame and you're happy to be that guy that does Super Mario Brothers. I am happy to be the guy that doesn't say a film is bad. I am happy to be the guy that says no one should ever watch any film made by Uwe Boll.
Yes.
Ever.
Wow.
And I'm not just talking about his fucking video game adaptations. I'm talking about any of his films. But
What was that one I got James Diamond to watch on?
Rampant, I think it was called. Was it called Rampant? The one where it's in
Rampage. That's
Rampage.
That's a great fucking movie. It has to be watched. It's so stupid.
But
Isn't there like 6 Rampage movies?
There's 2.
All right.
Well, there's two that he made. And the most recent one was like 2 years ago, and it's called President Down.
No, it's not that one.
Speaking of Rampage, aren't they making a new Rampage movie?
They are, with The Rock.
Yeah, with The Rock.
The Rock plus giant gorilla. I saw the trailer for it the other day. I can't fucking wait. It's going to be great. It's going to be absolute garbage, but it's going to be great. It looks fucking brilliant.
Mm.
There you go. Here's the list of Uwe Boll video game movies. You ready for this? Alone in the Dark, Blood Rain, In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege tale, Postal, Blood Rain Deliverance, Far Cry, Blood Rain, The Third Reich, In the Name of the King, The Two Worlds, and In the Name of the King, The Last Job. I've seen probably half of those. Oh, hold on. What did I miss? House of the Dead.
Yeah.
I missed House of the Dead. I've seen maybe half of those, and I would much rather push a beer bottle into my eye sockets than ever watch one of them again. They are, and we're not just talking, these are bad video game adaptations. These are bad films. These are just, they're so cheap. They're so quickly knocked out. They're just fucking awful. I don't understand how this man is still given money to make movies. I really, really do not.
I would pay to watch an Uwe Boll Street Fighter movie. I'm just saying. I think it could go places.
I don't. There are some people, like, you can sit and go, I can't stand Michael Bay. Michael Bay makes shit films. Michael Bay makes Oscar-winning fare compared to Uwe Boll bullshit. I cannot stand this dude in his films one little bit. And every time I've gotten excited for a film of a game that I love, and I've gone, oh, this is going to be good, and you hit the start, and it goes, an Uwe Boll movie, and you're like, fuck.
Uwe Boll's just the Sam Allardyce of film directors. If only someone would just give him enough money, he could win the league. He's all making bad films with bad budgets. It's never his fault.
If his name was Ewan Bolton, he'd be getting all the money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I will never forgive Uwe Boll for ruining Alone in the Dark.
Yeah, it was awful.
Alone in the Dark is a brilliant premise for a brilliant horror movie, and he turned it into a rank piece of shit with Christian Slater in.
Isn't there a scene where they're in a library and they're shooting all these CGI monsters, but they're never in the same place? Like, you see them shooting, and then in the other...
Or was it the museum?
It's a museum, yeah. So in one shot you're seeing them shooting, and in another shot you see the CGI things. So the two things are never on screen at the same time.
Yep.
So it's cheaper.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's Uwe Boll through and through.
To be fair, they do the same thing in Predator.
But Predator's good.
But we like Predator.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite awesome. Yeah. Have you seen In the Name of the King?
Yes, when it first came out. Don't quiz me on it. I don't.
Yeah, well, because it's got the Staith in it. So I was like,
It has.
Staith could be good. And then I think the one after that has has it got Jet Li in it?
I do not know.
It's got someone. I think Randy Couture is in it.
Well, for all his acting prowess.
Yeah. Oh God, they are awful, awful, awful films. And I like some bad. We've talked about like Albert Pyun and Roger Corman and people like that on the Failed Critics podcast in the past. And
yeah, Cyborg ain't got shit on any of these films.
Yes. Exactly. Cyborg's good. I won't hear a bad word against Cyborg, but yeah, but like he's just on another level, isn't he, Uwe Boll?
Yeah.
I don't know how he can make them so badly. I
don't think he's ever there. I think he just films people and then goes, I could make a film out of this. So again, I took to the social medias and asked people what their worst film was. Amy Saxby came back on Facebook and said, didn't care for Max Payne. Could have been a great adaptation.
Yeah. That was disappointing because Max Payne's got the potential for a great film noir.
It really
has. So good.
And it took a complete left turn and just terrible.
I don't even remember Max Payne. It was that bad.
Exactly, John.
And on Twitter, Lee Loveridge again, at Pyro Loveridge, came back and said, Prince of Persia. Where do you guys sit on Prince of Persia?
I think that's a little unfair to say it's the worst.
Yeah, it's okay, isn't it?
Apart
It's
from the
not
fact
as bad
that
as some of
it's a
the
film
others.
about Persia and it casts the whitest man in
Jake
America.
Yeah, this is when Jake Gyllenhaal was getting his big push, though. He was in everything. So it's just like, well, we've got the script. You want it? Okay.
Yeah.
I imagine it's one of those films where the studio said, well, if you want to do this, you've got to do that. Like,
Yeah.
you want to be in Zodiac, you've got to be Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
So,
But it also had Gemma Arterton in it, and
It
she
did.
can do no wrong.
Well, she can do
Yeah.
Prince of Persia. So the Sudden Double Deep podcast account, so at SDD Film Podcast, said, "Do the Uwe Boll movies even count?" Mortal Kombat Annihilation is next level atrocious, but then so is Double Dragon and Super Mario Brothers and DOA Dead or Alive. Who's seen DOA Dead or Alive?
No.
I mean, it's a weird one, isn't it? Fighting games, because again, like they have a hint of story, so that in theory they should be good to expand on and create a mythology.
And then they have Holly Valance
Have
putting her bra on while fighting.
you seen Tekken, the movie?
I have. It's fucking terrible.
I saw an animated version of Tekken, but I've not seen. I presume there's the live action.
The
one as
anime
well.
one's not bad, but the one with Luke Goss is fucking awful.
Yeah. I mean, why do they just why can they not do it properly?
Don't know.
Just make Bloodsport, but give the fucking characters names from computer games. Done. Job's a good one.
Tony again said anything by Uwe Boll, surely. Alone in the Dark was a special kind of atrocious. Stephen Ball at Civil27 said Assassin's Creed.
Oof, but that hurt you, didn't it?
That did a little bit, yeah. He said, to be honest, I'd never played any of the games, knew nothing about the animus, etc. Found it confusing, didn't engage me in the premise. I've since downloaded a few games, played a bit and moved on. Film did the game no favours, in my opinion. My favourite response was from Uwe Boll.
What?
Who responded and said there has never been a legitimately good video game film. They're all based on licensed product. This isn't Lord of the Rings. You
Uwe
fucking
Boll
said it,
replied
mate.
to you on Twitter.
Searching his name, or did he get tagged in?
He was searching his name. We didn't tag him in.
Oh, that's
He's one of them
such a-
cunts that's got a tweet deck thing just for his name
If you say Uwe Boll 3 times, he appears.
and invites you to a boxing match.
Funny.
He cast you in one of his films.
Yeah.
Say one of our podcast participants liked Rampage.
Yeah.
That's as much as you're getting.
I have respect for any filmmaker who has the balls to go out and make a film on their own. But I don't think that gives you carte blanche to avoid criticism of it.
No.
You know, having the audacity and the...
But you have to give him his due. He's never come out and said this one's for the fans.
True.
Which so many of these fuckers have.
Yeah. But, you know, I suppose he's the one having the last laugh if he's the one who's making movies for a living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inviting critics into boxing rings to beat up.
I mean, he's obviously a fucking lunatic, but...
Oh, the dude is off his
Fair play
fucking
to him.
rocker. I
Yeah.
wouldn't go within 50 feet of the guy ever. Right, so our final part of the triple bill, gentlemen, is a video game that you would like to see turned into a film. So, Owen, you're up.
I would like to see... Okay, I was struggling a little bit with this question because I went back and forth of thinking, can't really make FIFA the movie, but what could you... So I asked
United Passions.
Yeah,
Pretty sure it exists in Goal.
yeah, true.
Mean Machine.
Yeah, Football Factory, all of the best ones. So I turned to my wife and I said, "What do you think would be quite good?" She's she's into some of these games like Last Guardian and Shadow of the Colossus and Ico and stuff, and I can kind of see that they would make good games. But they're already very cinematic.
Yeah, so I think they'd make very good anime movies. Because that's
Probably,
basically
yeah.
what they are.
Yeah, dialogue-free movies, probably.
Yeah.
But she also said No Man's Sky. I was like, well, don't know about that.
Star Trek, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole point of No Man's Sky is that you exist within this completely infinite universe, but it doesn't really translate well to film. So I sort of thought a bit more about it, and I kind of thought what I think works in the best movies is when there's a trickle of story and it runs through whatever the world is that you're playing, but you can go out and do whatever you want. And sort of the epitome of that kind of game for me would be Super Metroid. And I think Super Metroid would make a great film.
That is a great show.
Yeah.
I think if you gave it to someone like Neil Blomkamp, for example, guy from District 9 and Elysium and Chappie, and just said, here you go, you're good at this kind of thing. This is the basic premise. Do what you want with it. You've got a character called Samus who goes to a planet which is covered with creatures and things. This is the idea. Space pirates, the lot, go on. Do your thing, Neil Blomkamp, and he'd make a fucking great movie out of that, I reckon.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree completely.
Because there is a story that is through all the Metroid games, and I'm sure Matt might disagree, but like I've only really played a handful of the Metroid games. Samus Returns was great, by the way, but like I kind of think that the story's it's not an epic, massive story, you know.
No.
There is definitely story there and narrative, and it's very engaging in the games that you play, whether it's Metroid Prime or Super Metroid or, like I said, Samus Returns or whatever it is. But there is enough there to have a sort of creative license in the hands of someone who knows what they're doing to make a proper good go of it. And so yeah, so Super Metroid would be my choice, and I would be begging Neil Blomkamp to do it.
Cool.
Yeah, I think you're definitely going to trump all of our answers.
Go on then, John. Try it. Give it a go. See what you can do.
So Owen definitely went into a hell of a lot more depth than I've gone.
Okay.
Because I've literally just written down I'm going for the absolute balls to the wall fucking insanity that is the Blood Dragon universe.
You
literally, I just want a film that is
Blood Dragon.
Yeah.
Oh,
pretty
wow.
much. I want a film that is basically just bringing back 80s VHS cheese movies.
Here's the problem with Far Cry Blood Dragon. If you make it 12A, it's Ready Player One.
True. That's why I want it to be an 18. Because I want a dude shooting stuff and then throwing middle fingers up.
Yeah. Just weird, uncomfortable sex scenes in weird, uncomfortable, cartoony ways. And yeah. Yeah, that would be weird.
It'd be awesome. And Uwe Boll to direct it.
The fuck off.
For the fans.
Yeah, this one's for the fans of Michael Bean. Oh, God. Matt, please have a better answer.
Okay. I very nearly plumbed for Contra, more specifically Contra 3 on Super Nintendo, but that's already so grounded in 80s action movies anyway that it's like it's kind of already been done, as brilliant as it would be. So I tried to pick something a little more out of left field, and I went for Superfire Pro Wrestling Special.
Christ.
That is very left field.
And I'll explain why. So I take it we've all seen The Wrestler here, right?
Yeah.
Or at least familiar with what it's all about. So it's kind of exposing the sort of human element of being a professional wrestler and the struggles that one might go through. And it's very sad. And Superfire Pro Wrestling Special predates that movie by at least 6 or 7 years. And it's the same kind of premise, but turns the drama up to 11. So essentially, just to give you some context, Superfire Pro Wrestling has ran over many iterations over the years, right from the SNES and the Mega Drive days, right up till modern day. And if WWE is an example, those games were the equivalent of FIFA, then Fire Pro Wrestling would be more akin to something like Championship Manager. Now, it's less flashy, but much more detailed and true to the sport it's trying to replicate. So the reason why I go for this is this particular edition of the game, Fire Pro Wrestling Special, which is the 13th in the series, but the 4th iteration on the Super Nintendo, bearing in mind it only came out in Japan for the most part. It features a particularly dramatic career mode written by famous game director Goichi Suda, aka Suda51. You might have heard of. He's been involved in games like Killer 7 and some various other stuff.
Yeah.
And basically, you play a young up-and-coming wrestling superstar who has to triumph over numerous adversity on your journey through to obtaining a world championship match. And just as things start to go your way, your trainer is murdered under mysterious circumstances. You accidentally cause the death of one of your best mates in the ring. And on the eve of your eventual world title match, your love interest leaves you because you're dedicating too much time to accomplishing greatness in the sport and have left no time for her. And when it comes to the actual title fight itself, you're facing an uphill struggle with no support network around you whatsoever, and you're fighting against the dastardly named Dick Slender, who's based on Ric Flair in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And he taunts and torments you during the fight and somehow gets around to murdering your tag team partner in the ring and admits that he was the guy behind the murder of your coach earlier on in the game. So it's pretty crazy stuff. But somehow you overcome the odds and win, and it's apparent that you've used wrestling to hide a more real-life inner struggle of depression. You don't enjoy everyday life, you're having difficulty getting through every day, and you're using wrestling as a focus to get away from depression. But having climbed the top of the tree and still feeling unfulfilled, you're alone because all your loved ones have left you or are dead. 3 days after winning the world title, you return to your home and you just see a picture of your house from the outside, and a few seconds later hear a gunshot, and apparently you've committed suicide.
Nice.
All this from a 16-bit wrestling game. I think that would be an incredibly weird thing to explore in a movie. If you take The Wrestler, the movie,
and make it
these
bleaker,
over-the-top dramatic elements to it, it would just be batshit mental, and I would love to see it. Maybe it's a bit too close to the Chris Benoit story, but
oh yeah,
I think it would be pretty awesome.
Fucking hell! Didn't even think of that.
Mm.
That's a good answer, though, man.
Anything that's got wrestlers and either hints of steroids or, deaths is it's like treading on eggshells, isn't it, nowadays?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it goes without saying the WWE wouldn't be involved in it, put it that way.
No.
And they'd probably sue anyone who tried to
Sue
make
the
it.
living shit out of it, yeah.
Yeah. Moving on. So finally to my one. I've got two. One
That's just being greedy.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, right, I wrote Killzone, and I don't want a Killzone film because it would be shit. But I want a Killzone film just so I can have Sean Pertwee playing Radic again. That's all I want. Because Radic is my favourite video game bad guy, and Sean Pertwee was awesome as him. But the one I really want, we've kind of got now as well. I want Deus Ex. I want a Deus Ex movie. Specifically, I want Deus Ex Human Revolution. So the Adam Jensen years. But we've kind of got that this year with Altered Carbon. Altered Carbon is very Deus Ex-y.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's Deus Ex as a premise I think is really, really good. It's this whole, it's not just about people being cyborgs, it's about that the clash between being a part robot and being completely human, and does your humanity leave you if you start messing with your brain and your body and things like that. I think it's a really cool premise to explore, and I think Netflix would make the shit out of that. I think it would be amazing in a TV show, but like I say, we've kind of had it already.
That's another Square Enix property, isn't it?
Yep.
So with them being involved with Tomb Raider, there's the potential to shift that over into the movie realm.
Yeah, and it's because Square don't have the best record. They have Tomb Raider, but they also have Hitman.
And 47.
Now I love Hitman, but then they had Hitman Agent 47, which I really liked, but it was so fucking terrible, and introduced that awful fucking cover of Voodoo Child to my brain that I will never be able to forget.
Weren't they supposed to be working on a Sleeping Dogs?
There is a Sleeping Dogs movie in the works, but as to how far along it is, and as to how it doesn't become just Infernal Affairs, I don't know. Not that I wouldn't take another Infernal Affairs movie. I think they're great, but it's pretty much Sleeping Dogs.
Hire the entire cast of The Raid.
Yep. Yeah. So again, I asked on social media what we wanted. Is Niall Hughes?
It's my brother.
Is that your brother? Okay.
Yep.
He's at The Last of Us, which I would.
He did say The Last of Us.
He
yeah.
did say The Last of Us, which I would definitely take. I don't know if they're going to make one. There was plans to.
There was,
Is The Last
wasn't
of Us not just The Walking Dead, though?
Pretty much.
I don't think a film would do The Last of Us justice. I don't think there's
It
any
wouldn't.
way of making it and
wouldn't.
it still be.
The thing that makes The Last of Us is the dread and the terror and the fact that you don't expect that from what you think is a zombie film when you first start playing it, and you can't really translate that to film, I don't think. But that's not stopped anybody from trying to translate all these other games to films and failing miserably. So
I'd accept a TV show because then you could have several hours worth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like 12 one-hour episodes on Netflix for The Last of Us would work.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was discussions, or at least like there was rumours that it was going to be picked up by HBO. I'm sure there was something about it was and wasn't like Josh Brolin linked as the dad or something like that?
Oh God. That would be kind of awesome.
That works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Josh Brolin would make a great Joel.
I'm sure I remember something about that ages ago, but yeah. I've still never played the game, mind.
The game is really good. Like, really good.
So literally everybody tells me every time I say I've not played the game. Everyone says it's really good and you should play it.
If you like,
You should play it.
If you like being scared, seriously,
Yeah.
it's nail-bitingly terrifying. But not because it's a horror game, because it's just so tense. It's edge of your seat the whole time. See, I have to play it with the headset on. I can't have it come out my speakers. Some of the bad guys in it scare my dog. Like the noises that they make my dog run out the room. We had Lee Loveridge again said BioShock, which at one point was going to be turned into a film. I don't think that's ever going to happen. Dishonored or Horizon. I don't want any of those. None of those properties are all so good you can't turn them into films. That would be ridiculous, and you wouldn't get anything out of any of them. And he did say, beware though, they'll inevitably ruin it.
Uwe Boll to make all of these.
Yeah. Uwe Boll to also make Matt Latham's suggestion, which was Monkey Island.
See, these are the things when I say I think they've just got too much like narrative that pre-exists in them.
Yeah.
And I just think it's people enjoy them as what they are because they're really good as what they are, and that doesn't necessarily mean it would be the same experience watching it as just a movie. It's like if you ever try and watch the things on YouTube where it's just cutscenes from a game.
Well, this is why I brought up the Ratchet and Clank movie. The Ratchet and Clank movie is just the cutscenes from the game.
It just doesn't work. I remember watching a Lego Batman movie before the Lego Batman movie that came out last year, which was the cutscenes basically from the Lego Batman game.
Yeah.
And I sat there and think, this is utter dog shit. But I remember enjoying playing the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Monkey Island would struggle because unless you carbon copied all of the jokes, which is what a lot of people remember from playing this game, it's the humor and it's amazing. Unless you carbon copy that into a film, you're basically just left with Pirates of the Caribbean, which you don't need any more of at all. Whereas if you took something that's similar, like point and click adventure, Broken Sword translates perfectly to something like Da Vinci Code because it's not so focused on certain individual elements like the humour, which is what makes Monkey Island so memorable. It's just a good mystery investigation type game stroke movie. It would work really well.
I would take someone making an animated Grim Fandango movie.
What was that LucasArts Indiana Jones game that everyone loved?
The Fate of Atlantis.
Yeah. See, everyone always said that would be a really good game. A good game. Really good film.
Yeah. Or how about Full Throttle? Full Throttle would be a fun game. I'd take Full Throttle. Fair enough. On Twitter, Brian Plank said The Order 1886.
Which is just a film.
Which is basically a film. That's what he said. He said it wanted to be a movie too, and just give it an ending this time. To which my response was, I'm pretty sure that would just be League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And then he said Firewatch. I don't know how you turn Firewatch into a film, but okay. I really enjoyed Firewatch, and it's about the same length.
His default answer to everything is Firewatch.
This is true. He does like Firewatch. Tony again came back and said, I think I'd like to see that Uncharted film finally come off. You just did. It was Tomb Raider. And Deus Ex would be really interesting too. Stephen Ball said, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Inside or Limbo. I'd be okay with Limbo as like a kids horror film. Just play Limbo in front of your kids though. Don't really need to turn it into a film. And Paul Driscoll at the Drisk said Syndicate, Speedball 2, and Duke Nukem. And he also said Perfect Dark.
Well, Duke Nukem's apparently in the works, isn't it?
Well, Duke Nukem apparently is being made with John Cena as Duke Nukem.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I think Speedball's based on certain movies of that ilk. I can't remember what direct inspiration for it is, but it's some sort of like futuristic, apocalyptic blood sport type thing. I can't remember what it's called, so I'm sounding like an idiot now, but I think it's already based on the movie. So to do a movie of a game based on a movie would be a bit meta.
Yeah. But, I did get a bit high horsey and just said...
I know you got a bit of back and forth about Syndicate.
Just no one should touch Syndicate. I loved Syndicate back in the day, and Syndicate Wars was amazing. But what the fuck was anybody thinking, turning it into a fucking first-person shooter? Starring the dude from The Crow. I loved it. I love him, but the game was so shit. The only thing that game actually successfully done was introduce me to Skrillex in a way that I never want to hear it again. Because it's just this terrible fucking Skrillex song in the trailer that I hated with a passion. But yeah, please don't touch Syndicate ever. Anybody, leave it alone. And finally, Colin Sheridan at Solemn67, so our mate Colin from Last Save Loaded, said he wants a Zelda movie, and he wants it now. And if not, maybe a Xenoblade film.
I think there's possibly already a Legend of Zelda anime film around somewhere.
Does it have Chun-Li shouting?
Probably not.
I'm not interested.
Didn't they have it was a cartoon series, wasn't it, of Zelda?
I think
Possibly.
they did.
You've got the CDI games of Zelda, which are technically interactive movies. And terrible.
Yeah.
What about a film based on a game which is actually based on a graphic novel? And therefore we can have The Wolf Among Us.
Okay. Haven't we had... We must have had something like that already.
Actually, probably...
Surely there's a TV show. Isn't like Once Upon a Time basically The Wolf Among Us? Or Fables?
Kind of, I guess. Same sort of premise.
I think that's going to have to wrap it up for us, gents.
Been a blast.
Yeah, that was a hearty debate and good fun.
Yeah, man.
Maybe we should do it the other way around next time. We'll do games. Films converted into games.
Oh, there are some pretty shit ones of them as well. Before we disappear off, does anybody want to plug anything? Owen, do you want to plug your stuff?
Yes, okay. I recently had an episode of Fail Critics, back the original home of Character Unlock. A recent episode of Fail Critics podcast went out. But I mean, basically that's kind of kaput these days. It's a very sparse website. But I'm now the co-editor of setthetape.com. And we have our podcast that goes out there, STT Rewind. Tony Black recently, my co-editor, recently had an episode of it, the first episode of his new podcast, Cinema Obscura, that was talking about Steven Spielberg's Duel. That went out. But yeah, usually you can just find me rambling on about stuff on setthetape.com or on STT Rewind.
Cool. Matt?
Yeah, you can find me at the RGDS podcast if you're into your retro gaming stuff. And yeah, that'll do for me.
Cool.
Yeah, I didn't really confirm. It's not a video game podcast, Set the Tape. It's a film, TV. Yeah.
Fair enough.
In case anyone thought.
Did you want to plug your event thing that's going on in September, Matt?
Oh, yeah, that was a really good idea. So on September the 15th, we're having a sort of retro gaming community bash at the Arcade Club in Bury. Anyone can come along. It's not like a private event or anything. And it costs, I think, £10 to get in. All the arcade machines are on free play. There's modern consoles, Japanese, rhythm arcades, all sorts of stuff, beer and food. It'll just be a load of gamers in a sweaty room having a great time. So if you can make it, feel free to come along.
Awesome. I'm going to try desperately to get up there.
I'm sure I can find a way of getting into Bury.
Can you get out, though, is the question.
True.
I'm also in talks at the moment with the View Cinema around the corner to try and get Predator shown in the daytime.
See, now that would be
day.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'll be there for that.
But I'm working on that. I'm not making any promises.
Yeah, that's the my only problem with that is it's a long journey and obviously like a hotel stay and stuff, and it's the weekend before EGX and I spend a fortune at EGX.
Fuck EGX.
Well, yeah.
But all you do is spend all day queuing. It's pointless.
I don't know. We didn't do too bad queue-wise last time. A couple of long queues.
It's all
but the rest of
about
the time,
who you're queuing with.
Yeah. This is true.
It does make a big difference.
Yeah. Right. And then for us, I suppose if you listen to this, you know where we are, but we're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube at Character Unlock. And I don't know. We'll be back in like a week with our regular show. Just regular old me and John. Oh. Right. I think that's us done, gentlemen. So thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us, mate. That was fun.
I really appreciate
Thanks
it.
for the invite.
And hopefully, we'll do it again soon.
Weird way to start a conversation.
Yeah. Evacuate what?
You don't want to know.
I logged on Skype dead on 8 o'clock and then felt a very sudden urge to go to the toilet, probably because I was nervous speaking to you lot, obviously. And then thought I was in a hurry, but John was late, so I had an uncomfortable experience trying to have a 5-minute shit. But...
a proper ab workout out of it.
yeah, you could say that, yeah.